Hello, welcome to Plat VALORANT episode 169. Yeah, that's 69 with 100 on it. Yep. That's my intro. That's the whole thing.
That's awesome.
That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing right there.
Oh my god.
Dude, this episode is going to be bonkers banana ultra crazy. Masters Madrid, I don't think I've been more excited for a tournament in a while. This has restoked my passion for the game.
He actually hated Valorant before this tournament. Fun fact.
I was ready to give it all up. I had one bad day of ranked, and I was this close to tossing the whole thing in and going back to OWCS. This close.
It's funny because that's actually me IRL right now. I'm in pain with ranked. It's all good.
Did you make it a Radiant?
I mean, we're not supposed to talk about that. I don't have a Viper cosplay to do or anything like that. Like, please, we don't have to talk about that. It's all good.
Josh, did you make it to Radiant yet this act?
Yeah, like I'm trying to make it the Radiant, as if I would ever put my self-worth on the line, thinking that I could make it to a high rank. There's no way. The fact that I've ever been Immortal 2 is fraudulent to begin with. Absolutely fraudulent. I am not an Immortal 2 player.
I am glad you say it.
I didn't get boosted there either, though. I solo queued my way up. I don't know how it happened.
It makes no fucking sense. Sorry for the money.
There's no money.
It makes no
Bye-bye, money. Bye-bye. See you later. Open the Plat chat wallet. Moths are flying out.
First time I've made a conscious decision to just fucking send it on that.
Beth has come into the room. As soon as I mentioned the word boosted, she's opened the door and she's like ready to go and needle me and tell me that I am boosted. I'm working, honey. I'm working. All right, let's get on with this episode then, shall we? Can I just get a temperature check? Am I the only person who is just like frothing at the mouth for Masters Madrid? I feel like this tournament's gonna be. Yeah, you're a foamer, Mimi.
Famously, I'm so excited for this tournament, man. It's like it's the first tournament in like I don't know, literally since like 2021, where I've looked at it and I'm like, I have no clue who's gonna be in the finals. Who's gonna win this tournament? No fucking clue.
Think
like
it might just
so many
genuinely be
competitive
the
teams.
only tournament that you ever cannot have it. Like I don't know. It might be the
Literally.
only one.
I feel like some people might listen to that and they might think, well, you guys get it wrong anyway, so why? So how is this so different? But in every other tournament, there's like a favorite. Even if that gets upset at some point throughout the tournament, there's always some kind of hierarchy going into it where you can have teams that you're expecting to do better. The odds-on favorites to win the tournament right now, if you just look at the bookies at the beginning, are Loud. Who are the second ranked team from Americas. Yeah, I think that's just because they've like gone deep before and done it before and stuff. Like I genuinely think this is confusing the odds makers. It's that much of a tournament.
I don't know how the odds makers make anything make sense in Valorant anyways, because they're almost always disagreeing with what I think. So I think they're just boomers or something. I don't know.
You should go work for them. You should sell out.
Yeah, me and my 100% prediction rate.
Yeah.
If I was a deeply unethical person, I would own so many properties right now. Just from gambling on Valorant.
I would become a landlord.
Just generally.
Just from gambling on Valorant, because dude, I got fucking like 90% of my preds right for kickoff.
Did you?
Yeah, I predicted EG. Predicted the
Oh, you're talking about the previous preds, like for the end.
Everything was correct. Guys, you ever want the lottery numbers? You fucking come to me, okay?
The only thing we didn't predict correctly.
I mean,
Bren was pretty on the money, actually. Yeah, he went for Karmine Corp beating Fnatic. No, sorry. You went for Heretics beating Na'Vi.
Beating Na'Vi, yeah.
You just didn't have Karmine Corp beating Fnatic.
I had EG winning in their match.
Well, that wasn't correct either,
that's
then.
wrong, Brent.
No. EG winning the qualifier
means.
match, the first match.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Which
Well, no,
nobody...
What do you mean the qualifier match? They didn't beat
The
Loud. That was the
qualifiers to
qualifier.
playoffs.
No,
There was no way to
that got them
predict
into playoffs.
Right, the G2 game.
G2.
Just stop
Got
thinking
you,
about
got
it and
you.
let Bren be right. His predictions
Okay,
were perfect,
my
100%
predictions
accuracy.
were good.
Great job.
That was
Bren.
good.
We're getting too much.
One.
Yeah, I mean, well, we want to talk about all of these things later down the line anyway. But first, before we get into talking about Madrid, we've got the important stuff to tackle first, actually. And that's another bloody skin review. Primordium released the cop or the drop. It's fiery. It's a devilish theme.
It's like the.
Isn't it? Is it not
Doom. It's
good?
like Doom.
Wait,
it's like
the
it's like Doom.
people who bought the dragon skin at like the beginning of Valorant are just continuing to fucking sob and cry. Because tell me this isn't just the same skin for $10 cheaper.
No, the dragon one
untrue.
is
Not.
Untrue.
False.
Can I hold on to a dragon vandal and reload its cock? With this one? No, I can't. I mean, 100% I can with the
Yeah.
old dragon skins. You are just exchanging it.
That's very true. Yeah.
So true.
They're not the same. But they're like very I don't know. They're Doom-esque.
The
And they're
knife
like if you
Yeah.
way
look at the finisher. Go for the finisher. Hover,
Dude,
hover
let's,
over
can
that.
we just
Gaia
talk about
mixed
the
with a
guy
dragon.
who does records the videos for this? Just evidently being the goat. Why are
yeah.
the shots so
the
clean?
last like 3 skins, he's just been they have just been insane at the game. It's like actually aimbotting or something.
How many takes do you reckon it takes them?
1, obviously. Look at this guy's aim. Look at this guy's aim. One
No,
take.
they definitely whiff
One
sometimes
take.
and have to redo it.
Nah, dude, they're frame skipping. They're editing out all the misses. They're frame skipping. They're frame skipping this.
Oh, wait, that finisher. I haven't seen this
Wait,
before.
this
That is
finisher's cool.
nasty.
Yeah, it's
I'm
nice.
telling you, this is the
It's nice.
biggest cop of my life. Like Insta. It's a mix of the Gaia and the dragon, and maybe a little bit of the Reaver. It's an Insta cop.
Can I see the
Insta-cop.
finisher again, please, Kurt? Because I'm so close.
Kurt is just. Wait,
Oh.
What's
Ooh, the
can I see
hand
the
pulls them
green?
away?
Can I see the green variant?
Oh.
It's like
Wait,
Mortal
so there's a
Kombat.
hand that comes and grabs them, pulls them away to a demonic plane, and then when you stand on the summoning portal, it turns everything else around you into like a hellscape?
Yeah. Oh wait, this
Wow.
might be a cop actually.
It's the biggest
Dude.
cop of my life.
They never do green skins, and I love green skins.
Oh
my
my
God.
so good!
I mean yeah. Yeah.
How are they going to release this after my chat baited me into buying 2 Karmine Corp bundles?
Look at the knives, bro.
Oh
What
my
the-
god.
This
Wait,
is
have
like
you seen the one
Kratos.
animation?
You're running faster. You can't convince me that you're not running faster. You
Dude, we're not getting
can't.
paid for this, by the way. This is just
No, I know. No, of
you
course
would
we don't
think
get paid for this.
You would
Can
think
you imagine?
the Riot marketing team had like reached out to us and like, we'll give you 10K if
Well,
you just
oh-
slip in the skin
Wait,
review.
I mean, that's
know
not
we
a
don't.
bad idea.
Have you
Yeah,
seen the
honestly.
previous skin reviews, though? We're constantly saying we wouldn't buy the skins for the game that we
But
work
now
in.
they trust us, right? They trust our
Yeah, we've-
opinion
we've
because they
gained opinion.
believe.
Wait, show me that blue
Oh.
variant. Wait, that might be what sells me.
Ew.
This?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
mean,
even
that.
primordial anymore.
It's kind
Get
of
her off the show.
No,
Get
it's
her
like
off
the
the
blue-
show.
Wait, hold
The
up.
blue
Is it
flames
mountains?
is kinda
Is it
cool.
mountains?
Wait, that's so sick.
No, it's nowhere near as good as the other 2.
Oh
is
my
like
dude,
fucking
shut the
Frozen
fuck up.
Throne.
That is sick.
Ice King.
Yeah.
Not about it.
If I pick Cop, am I legally obligated to buy it? Because I don't want to
Yes.
spend the money, but it is incredibly good.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't want to spend the money,
Buy
but it
it.
is good, and I would get it.
It's
so
only
good, though.
$87, guys. Like, relax.
Oh, how reasonable!
Drop. I'm not paying for it.
Yeah, I don't want to pay for
Too
it, but
expensive.
I would like the skins.
so
Is
Dude,
that
let me
an
tell you,
option?
chat.
I'm sorry.
You could either work for your money and buy the skin, or you could make your money work for you. We have all-time high yield savings account interest right now. You could invest your money back into yourself, and you could be a better man instead of making the skin work for you. You could have a finisher in real life when you retire early from your job because that $90 you put in. Let me tell you.
Yep.
That's what I'm gonna be doing.
Mimi,
Buy
you're a
high,
streamer.
sell low.
This is literally an investment right here.
I'm not.
All the little
I'm
Timmies
not
are going
a
to come to your stream
streamer.
to watch this.
Nope.
Yeah, I heard that's the reason why nobody watches my stream is because I don't have any skins. That's
True.
I did a lot of market research, and that's the biggest reason. So yeah, I'm gonna cop this. That is dope, though. That's one of the best skins that we've reviewed
This
in quite
is
a
like
while.
the best one they've released in recent memory, since I don't remember any other recent skin they've released.
Actually,
Yeah.
though, like out of any skin that deserves $87, like this, they actually
you-
blew it out the fucking.
Can you
park.
pull up Sabrosa's tweet? His reaction to this? This cracked me up. When I saw Sabrosa's tweet on this. I mean, I don't want to spoil it. I just
I've
need you
never
to
seen
pull-
this screen with our green. Like,
Yeah, it's a new one.
Oh, yeah.
It
Whoa,
shows you what we
whoa.
copped and what we dropped.
Dude, this is crazy.
So is it like a positive tweet, a negative tweet?
It's just a funny tweet.
Right.
We're
this is
actually
a
a
funny
React
tweet
channel
react.
now.
I
Send
can't
us your
find his
clips.
account. What's his Twitter? Oh, I found it.
Dude,
I spelled it like a doofus with an S.
It's a brosa.
Prosa.
You just type in -8 on Twitter and it'll come up.
Ooh.
I don't know where. Oh, this. What does he say?
The
Oh,
Shaitan
Jesus.
bundle.
Hold on.
What is he talking? Oh God.
Oh, the game's open, so hold on.
I'm terrified.
Guys, is it just me or is Kurt so loud?
Am I super loud?
Yeah.
The Shaitan bundle pre-Ramadan. Haram. This shit sent me, man. This shit sent me. And then all the comments of people just like being like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I guess Valorant's haram now. Can't play it. Just absolutely roasted.
Was Valorant halal before?
I guess so. I don't know. It was. I don't know. But
I would say that was not
tickled
worth
me.
waiting for, Bren.
Well, okay. Fuck you guys. I'm going. Fuck this show, man.
All right.
Fuck this.
Let's-
I'm going
let's-
back to bed. I had like 4 hours sleep. You can go.
No,
fucking
we
go.
appreciate you. No, we appreciate you.
No, go take the fucking bike and go fucking run it around the block real quick, huh? And then fucking and then just fucking and just I don't know, just I'm gonna go drink. Goodbye.
He's
You
gonna
guys
go add
swear
some
a
vodka
lot.
to that orange juice. Yeah, he's gone off on a tirade, hasn't he? Not me. I'm PC. I'm family friendly. Let's move on to the next topic though. Let's start talking about Masters Madrid, because as Bren was referencing earlier, one of the upsets that Bren did not see coming was Karmine Corp beating Fnatic, and they went and did the funniest thing imaginable, and they knocked Fnatic out of Masters Madrid contention, which was just an absolutely electric game. I loved it. I was there rooting for the blue wall. I was telling all the Karmine Corp fans at the beginning, you're not winning this game. Listen, I like your team, but you're not winning this game. And they kind of smoked Fnatic, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They might be my favorite team now. This shit is I mean, insane. And if you've been watching the entire time, Karmine Corp, like they're real all the way through. It's not a fluke. It's not anything. Like Fnatic wasn't even like choking or anything. It wasn't like they looked all off or anything like that. Yeah, maybe overall, you can make those adjustments. You can make those claims, but they weren't. They weren't like the OG Fnatic that chokes, where it looks completely lost, where Boaster doesn't even know what he's doing. They were still running through all the protocols and stuff. It just, I don't know. There's a lot to say about Fnatic, but Karmine Corp is the truth.
Bala, I had people coming into my chat after this match saying, who do you think the problem is on Fnatic? I'm like, I'm just not engaging with that. They were like, Durka looked like he had a really bad game. I'm like, that's not the reason,
It's
guys.
just
That's
the
not
fucking
the reason.
the like anti-Fnatic fans chomping at the bit to bring back the fraudmatic allegations any chance they can. It's just we gotta drop Durka, guys. We gotta drop Durka. One bad game, we gotta drop him. They're fucking begging for it. But yeah, Karmine Corp is actually the truth. So the things this team does, I don't feel like they should work, but it just always works perfectly. Like every time they go for a retake, they're like instantly committing utility, and like the timings of their commitment, like from their dive agents, is just always impeccably lined up. Like the second anything is sent in, Martine is double satcheling in, or you're TPing in, and they're just scaling perfectly back into these sites and making players the caliber of Fnatic's look like fools when they make particularly these retakes and these takes happen. And on top of that, literally any late round situation, even if a round goes wrong, it's just like the clutches this team will win are also ludicrous. Narrate in particular. The guy was on the fucking worst NA Challengers team last year. He moves to Europe and he just is a god all of a sudden, playing on the Duelist, playing on the Initiator. No matter what, this guy has been utterly absurd. Like, it feels unreal where these guys came from, that they're here now.
So they put out a tweet, Eng put out a tweet saying that they've won 58 scrims in a row since February 6th. And they also released a behind the scenes documentary, which was fairly cool. It had a lot of filler in there, but it was pretty fun. It gave you a good insight as to like how they've built the team culture. They're all super hungry players, willing to work mega hard, and they've put in some of the most practice out of any team. I mean, they've been scrimming together since October, basically, which is the same level of practice that Sen have had. You just saw more of Sen because they were playing in off-season tournaments, or Loud. So similar amount of practice to all of the teams that are the most refined currently, and they've just been dunking on people in practice recently. So it's consistent, but also they're translating that into matches. You would think with a team that was full of rookies like this, yeah, they might smoke people in scrims, but once they turn up to the big stage and once they're actually playing for real stuff against big teams, they would show more restraint. They wouldn't have the same level of confidence. They would be a little bit afraid of people like Durka or, Alpha Year on the other side. They barreled him over. Martin tweeted afterwards saying, "Don't compare me to Durka," which is like, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean?
That's
a
insane.
compliment, bro. That's a compliment. And he beats Fnatic and he's like, "Don't ever fucking compare me to Durka again. I'm on a different level." What?
That is insane.
It's ridiculous. Oh, they win
This
this
team
round,
is
by the way.
insane.
After it starts like that, like this team is just ridiculous. You also have to give credit to the coach in Eng. It's just absolutely criminal that the guy who brought like Gambit and then Mech to the heights they did just didn't have a team last year. Just wasn't on a team, and now he's back, has a new opportunity with some rookie talent, and has just formed them into this ridiculously good team. Beyond just the good players, the good synergy, they're also bringing unique ideas. Like I think that their comp on split is super sick. I love how they're like using like the Omen and Fade util to deafen to like combine with the Yoru. I love how they're using the double smokes to like give more options to take space when they're double diving in. It's like the ideas are really sound that they're running and creative. The synergy is on point, and then you just add in some players that are just having absolutely unbelievable tournaments, and this team just looks ridiculous.
Yeah, on top of that, the antis in this, particularly this map versus
On Lotus
Fnatic,
were unbelievable.
Unreal.
were
They
super
had
good.
one map to work with against Fnatic, and they antied the shit out of them. I don't think
They also had
realize
all of
how.
last year.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
sure, but Fnatic were throwing in new stuff. I mean, the Omen changes up the
Some
way
stuff,
they take
yeah.
this shit. Yeah, like we literally just saw an example of it of their tree takeover towards A, which Fnatic were rolling Vitality on consistently. They play around that. They had smoke-specific lineups for the Haunt that they were throwing to try and block the Haunt so they could fight Rubble easily. Dude, they were cooking with this. And if they're able to do that with just one map, yeah, it was like a huge... And you can make the argument, sure, they haven't changed too much of the playbook overall from previous years. But, dude, it's mad impressive. I mean, you got to give full credit to Eng, I think, and this whole fucking team. They have so many strengths, not just with the counter-stratting, but, like, I'm assuming you've already mentioned just their retake protocols and the individuals stepping up as well. Like, this team
the
looks
retake
like
success
the
rate.
real deal.
The retake success rate must be the highest out of any of the teams, I think. Although Sentinels are also amazing on the retakes.
Yeah.
So I'm not super confident in that, but it feels. I mean, look, Kurt's
dude,
pulling
look
it
at
up.
the
Look
amount
at the
of
defense rounds. How many of these they're letting the opponent team get the plant down and either flooding or doing some kind of set retake. The utility is always immaculate. Shin saves his smokes for the perfect positions on the retake. The sunset, like one way that he's putting on the back box, and then he's also got stuff on Lotus as well when they were doing the mound retake that we just watched earlier. Shin teleports across to the other side, so he sets up a double face with Martine before the retake even begins. Smokes mound so they can't play the mound lineup. Like, these guys are thinking so far in advance.
It's every single player. Their agent is like getting the maximum amount of value out of it. So I huge credit. I mean, Eng is the GOAT. You guys already know I've been believing on that shit. But I have to give
Eng
credit
is the
to
GOAT.
Zage,
Is there any other part of that statement you want to finish?
Eng in my throat.
There wasn't any need. The joke was completed once Mimi said it.
I mean,
He just loves Eng. What can I say?
I love the guy. Like,
So out of pocket.
was I gonna say something else? I think so.
I think that sums it up.
They were doing all the things, like in that Fnatic mirror matchup on Lotus. They were doing all the things that Fnatic has, done very well and innovated on that map. Way better. They were adding just little things, even the spam angles from the Odin, for example, the A main spam that constantly happens. You know how Chronicle always is spamming A main from just the regular spot? They were doing it for trees so that people are getting caught run out. They also had like the fucking perfect lineups for people who are jumping on top of Rude, on top of Rubble, all the different things. Like they're finding so much value out of little tiny things too, which is insane.
To add another piece of context to that, they hadn't been running the they hadn't been running the Odin prior to the game against Fnatic. So that was all new in the run-up to the game. So all of this stuff where it was like sides are swapped and Thomasy's doing it from this kind of position, they basically weren't running Odin on this map prior to the game here. And they just decided to add it into the flow of what they were going for. And it worked super, super well. So this team is the truth. I can't believe that they're on the redemption tour like this, though.
Yeah.
I genuinely can't believe it. Like, they've got the phrase that I keep coming back to is from melons to Madrid. How have they done that? How have they done that?
I mean, that's what happens when you get a complete fresh start on a roster and get a coach that is very proven and he has the ability to do whatever with whatever money
the
you
Aang
have.
effect goes crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was a full reset. I mean, a lot of these players, well, not all of them, obviously, but some of these players probably weren't getting much attention elsewhere. I'm thinking Martin in particular. I know a couple coaches have talked about like scouting him and whatever, but I can't imagine he was on many people's radars because he was playing in like a smaller VCL.
And honestly, like, if there's anything that, like, this season with the amount of rookies who have qualified for Madrid and EG's run last year should prove, it's that the most important thing you can have as a team is really good scouting and being able to, like, being willing and able to take risks on new younger talent, because there is a ridiculous depth of talent out there. And B, having a really good coach who has like a clear set idea of how they want to play the game and can properly mold these players. You saw it with Potter and EG. You've seen it with Aang in this team. You see it with Sadak and every variant he has of VALORANT. If you get the right leadership and take a risk on some of these rookie players, you can make magic happen. Well and truly, there are so many players, I mean, that are like these guys that are just waiting for the right team, the right moment to make something happen. And it's still ridiculous every time it does.
You have to also crush the tendency to promote friends from within the organization. Yes. You must approach things from a non-nepo beginning in order to have a chance at that. I do want to, before we move on to the next topic though, what's the take on Fnatic? Because I've seen a lot of Duma take about Fnatic off the back of this match. They didn't really change very much. They're not innovating. They look individually not that strong. How much do you believe that that's true? And does it affect your thoughts about Fnatic moving into the future of their run in EMEA?
I don't think anything. Like, if you're changing your opinion too much about Fnatic, you're crazy. Just look at the roster. That's all you have to do to convince yourself otherwise. I think the one thing though is the innovation, the fact that they ran every single thing other than changing Omen, for example. Like, it's identical. I was watching the Vitality game. We were in the green room, and Boaster does his interview in the post match, and he's like, yeah, all these teams were like trying to innovate so much and try to get ahead of the meta. Like, it's just gimmicky. Like, you just gotta stay solid and optimal, and it'll be fine. And I looked at everybody. I was like, that's gonna bite him in the ass. Like, that's gonna bite him in the ass. This is not that game. Like, this is not Counter-Strike.
I kind of understand Boaster's point though, because a lot of temes run these one and done comps.
But Bren,
and I mean, you do have to remember it worked for him for so long. Like, all year last year in EMEA, they're playing the same shit every fucking game, and they
barely changed the comps.
Yeah,
but have you guys seen the patch notes for the last fucking 5 months? Like, the game has changed so drastically.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, oh, fiddly do. Yeah, it's the same stuff. It's fine. Like, you can't do that, man.
Like he's a pixie running through the fields. Fiddly do.
I agree. I know.
Fiddly dee. Fnatic
saying,
is the team for me.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Fnatic shouldn't innovate. I'm just saying that I imagine from Bose's perspective, he's talking about these comps that don't, like, for example, a lot of teams like to run these strange variations on Ascent, and they get broken after like 1 or 2 maps. You know what I mean? Where I kind of understand the point of view where he's like, we want to focus on the fundamentals more because that's going to get us more wins, which would be correct, except the fundamentals were off in their qualifier match. They weren't playing like themselves. They weren't trading off each other. They were taking fights with the same like level, I guess, that, you know, the players had the same confidence level when they were taking a lot of these fights, but they weren't set up to be traded in some of these instances, which you would expect to see from like the really well-drilled teams that we've seen in kickoff. I've
got a potential hot take here.
I know what it is already.
I want to get a temp check for, which is that his important point in that post-match interview was that he thought when you swap around your comps a lot, your fundamentals decrease. Your macro understanding and your fundamentals go down. Which I think when you look at teams that they've played against a lot, like Na'Vi, yeah, okay, reasonable assessment of how some of those teams have worked in the past. But KC's fundamentals looked better than Karmine Corp's fundamentals looked better than Fnatic's during this game. And I'm not sure Fnatic have actually ever had the cleanest fundamentals that we've ever seen from teams. I think what they've had is excellent usage of ultimates, an extraordinarily stacked roster, and they have setups where they're really, really solid as long as their players win duels that they're expected to win, right? But I think the kind of thing that we're seeing from Karmine Corp and other teams around the world now as well, where every single play, they're trying to sync up a double swing, or they always have somebody that's there ready to play off, or they're, making sure that they are doing the micro plays in as many situations as they possibly can. I actually think that's kind of new this year. I don't know which other teams, I guess we praised PaperX for their micro play before, but PaperX were not disciplined in slow situations, I don't think. They were only disciplined in the fast pace. I think we're actually headed into a new wave of good fundamentals, the likes of which we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I think Sentinels is the other great example of that, right? Because they're also playing new comps and they're switching up roles and stuff a lot, but they honestly very similar to KC. The things that are fundamental, they get incredibly correct for the most part. Like if you look at how they play their Sunset comp and the retakes there, if you look at the way they play their split and their just the way they play around the map, it is always on point. And when they do switch up the comps, they still stick to that. I think that we're at a point where those types of teams that can play these different comps and keep that highest level are proving to be the best.
Yeah, I think the level has. This is great. This round is my favorite
nuts.
Narrate round.
Yeah,
He just runs into the trip and frags him out. He's got a player right
Narrate
behind him
moment.
to trade that isn't even
to
required.
break the trip too. It's perfect. Yeah, I think the overall level, especially at the top of every single league, maybe bar Pacific and China maybe a little bit, but I think Americas and EU right now have just definitely improved. But I don't think there's that many examples. I would disagree about Sentinels being the same storyline with K Corp in terms of the fundamentals and what Josh is talking about every peak being perfect. I think they play good fundamentals, but I would liken them to Fnatic's fundamentals, which I agree with Josh on.
Really?
Yeah, I'm so
know.
impressed with KC.
I don't think Sen take that many individual fights where they're expected they're trying to just raw firepower out. They're taking a fight. They usually have players in good positions to trade.
I'm not saying that they're not doing that, but
We're talking the difference
we're talking
between
about
great and
K-Corp,
perfect.
K-Corp is literally putting dynamic high lows on every single
sure.
peak. You know what I mean? That's the sort of shit that's going on.
Yeah.
Where I think Sentinels is way more flowy than that level of structure.
I can agree with that, but I think they're way more flowy, but I still think in the moments that matter, they still get it right. But it's not the 100% kind of superhuman shit we see from KC sometimes. So
And to be honest,
I can agree to that.
Maybe KC trying to do that constantly will end up biting them in the ass sometimes because they won't find the perfect timings that some of the other teams will. It isn't 100% that that's a better way of playing the game. I'm just saying that in terms of the small fundamental stuff, KC seem to have drilled that better than.
I mean, you talk about taking.
I don't know. Anyone?
Yeah. And I mean, you talk about taking those little risks. I feel like a great example with Sentinels is again, their Sunset game where they start choking, and then Tens just has rounds where he starts teleporting on top of a box and taking kind of undue risks, but winning rounds because of it. They're more willing to do stuff like that, which you can kind of weight at how you like, as whether that's a positive or a negative. I think it can swing either way.
Well, let's move on to a team that does a lot of set play stuff and less of that kind of improving, finding timings, these kind of things. The team that's the direct opposite of an NRG from Americas, if that's what you're familiar with, it's Heretics. Now, Heretics, Benjyfishy, that's the topic. They're cranking 90s on people.
Box him like a fish. Angel's way too old to fucking play in this league anymore, bro.
Yeah, Angel actually got boxed. Benji popped the flopper, he chugged the chug jug, and we cranked on him.
Then
Did I
he
get that
shows
right,
up on the
Colin?
other
No
side
idea.
of the fucking stage, and he's like, "You, bruh, I fucking destroyed you many times before." This is, hella props to Heretics. This is not out of all the teams that have like surprised us this weekend or last weekend. Heretics is the one that I just nowhere close to seeing being a possibility. Like I saw potential in these players. I was not expecting them to realize it this quickly. This is, I mean, absurd.
Yeah.
What's wild to me too is, sorry, go on, Brent, go on, because I want to give you your spotlight because you predicted this matchup as well.
Yeah, because dude, Heretics, when I'm watching them as well, you said that they have a lot, they're very set play heavy and they go in the opposite direction, but I also don't think that's the case either. I think this team is also very good at communicating when they should play off of each other and making sure that they're taking fights that they're more favored to win. And they matched up so well against a team like Na'Vi because it was very evident to me watching Na'Vi that they hadn't put many time in fleshing out their map setups, that they were relying on certain maps, for example, like their Breeze was all right for them, like against other teams. But when you actually had a team like Heretics that knew how to dismantle it, they were really just running over them. And this team is more than just these like the neon play flash executes at the start, which catch teams off guard. They have more to them than that, because I think that just really distills them down to almost just like kind of the level of play, you know, like Vision Strikers were trying to really innovate with, where they were going for those big orchestrated plays right at the beginning of the round. But Heretics have that as like a weapon in their arsenal, but they've also got a lot more to them as well. I think the one thing that might slip them up at Madrid is their macro calling on attack side. That's the one thing that I thought was weaker than some of the other teams. And it's one of the biggest strengths of Na'Vi, actually, is how they work the map on their attack side. Because they have players that know the internal timings, like Shaosugetsu will try and take space as well. Angel will int every now and then because he thinks he's got a timing. But for Heretics, I felt like that was kind of missing ever so slightly. And yeah, the way I measure that is when I'm watching a team, you know, when you can see them play their attack side slowly, usually they might like pump a bit of util out, instantly force an expected reaction out, work another area of the map, and then return back to another area. And it's like the amount of decisions they can fit into that particular round. And like in an attack side round, how efficient can they be with them moving around the map and using that util at the right timings? And Heretics, I think they miss the beats every now and then in terms of that. And then so they end up getting, you know, caught out in positions where, you know, a team can just over-rotate and get rewarded for it on the defense side. But other than that, they have really, really strong pieces to this roster. Not just talking the individuals, like you said, the set plays, but I do think the fundamentals are there for them as well. They're usually communicating how to set themselves up for success in these fights.
Yeah, I guess I'm giving them, like, a lot of the stuff that you're probably thinking are audibles, I'm looking at and thinking they've got a set play to, like, create a...
some of the stuff definitely isn't set plays. I think they're just communicating their util on the fly for most of it. I think at the beginning of rounds, like their sunset default, like towards A, where they do like the stuns and the peaks of the flashes, that stuff definitely I think they've drilled pretty well.
Or like the sunset run down mid slide.
Yeah, or like even like the Lotus like mini boo just peaks and gets 2 because he's being set up with a bit of util. Yeah. Like that kind of level of stuff.
I think the difference
drilled it
with this team versus like like a team like Sentinels or something and some of the other teams is most of their set plays aren't like big like execute pieces. It's like these little ideas to take early map control. Like when they're going up mid with the neon and they have like the flash over and the stun to then like split late into A or whatever with the neon pushing through. I think those ideas show that like in preparation they have good ideas. Is like what is important to them early round, what space do they need to be taking, how do we want to do that. But I do agree where we see those moments sometimes where once that kind of first stage of set take, first idea is like completed, sometimes it got a little weird in the mid round, but I feel like more often than not they were converting off those ideas fairly well.
Yeah, I think this team looks nasty good. I think also Paddy has fit fairly seamlessly into this roster. He must have had to learn like 1,000 different KO setups and flash lineups.
Because everyone these set plays we're talking about is like with one of his flashes or his knife. I mean,
look at this one.
Like
look at this. I mean, that is a set retake of mid. They had another one for B main as well on Lotus. And Neil Zenio was saying that they haven't even had to almost scratch the surface of the playbook yet as well. But for Paddy to come in and be filling in for Woot, probably the most hyped up player on this team, is not even in the team, and they're performing like this. Yeah. I don't understand how Heretics have quite done it, because when I look at Karmine Corp, I can see I thought Karmine Corp were going to be fairly decent. They ended up massively overperforming even my expectations for them. But you have Eng there, you have hungry players. I can see the process works. For Heretics, I'm like, okay, I know you guys were scrimming since October, but how the fuck have you gone from a team that was like, all of the players were not really having these level of performances in the past, none of them, to having put it together into such a well-orchestrated machine?
It's because they're brothers. You start off, you just have Shaq. He's Shaq. That's pretty great. You just have Kobe. Nah, he's pretty great too. You put Shaq and Kobe together, you get the 1992 LA Lakers, baby.
I didn't realize they were related, Shaq and Kobe.
They're brothers. They're brothers.
They're brothers.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm learning new stuff every
People
time.
won't
on
tell
the
you
show.
that, but they are.
Two Lakers.
Yeah, that's the team they were on.
Were they good in in '92?
Let me see, one sec. The Shaq.
What are you
Kobe
looking up?
was
That wasn't a
on-
team.
No, 1996 to 2004 LA Lakers. Shaq and Kobe.
Neither of them were in the NBA at that point.
No, wait.
92 to 93.
96.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
they weren't.
So
Yeah. What?
Shaq
that?
joined the NBA in '95 or some shit. Like,
Wait, no. Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, who played together on the Los Angeles Lakers from 96 to 04.
yeah, that's a real
said
team.
92
You said
to 3.
92.
said
But I
92.
meant 96. We all know I meant 96. Everyone heard it.
This is so funny. This is the second time I've heard Lakers references from Mimi.
I know nothing about basketball, but I love making basketball references that are just made up. It's awesome.
Holy shit.
Dude, Benjyfishy though.
I mean, when Benjyfishy was on the 2008 76ers, he was fucking
I was gonna make
like,
a serious
the
point about
3-point
Benji.
conversion there.
You're just taking it into this in abstract comedy levels that are beyond skibbity toilet. We're just getting beyond.
That's the greatest
anything.
compliment anyone's ever given me. Thank you, friend.
what has got? Bala, did you want to say your
Yeah, I
piece?
think you had a point, bro. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I did.
That's
I
a-
mean, it was watching the final moment of that match, and something that I really liked, and it's just outside of the server, but Benjyfishy as a
His pop-off?
player, it was him staying on the mic at the end with the
yeah,
celebration.
we just saw that shit. I didn't see it before because I turned off the game immediately.
That goes a long way when you have teammates online. I mean, I think that just shows that you just want a teammate like that, to be honest, because it's a lonely. If you're playing online alone, you win the match. I tell you what, I've literally seen it happen in Overwatch as well. But what ends up happening is everybody takes their headsets off and starts fucking screaming and fucking pounding chests and whatever else to celebrate. And then the player online is just sat there like, yeah, we won. And it's just alone.
I
But
mean,
Benji
you
stayed
just saw
on.
it in Valorant with Game Changers Championship
Yeah,
when,
with Mel.
when Mel had COVID and was in the little
yeah.
room alone. And
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
so hard. I feel like
And
that's one of the
so,
hardest things
dude,
you can have as a player, to be separated.
It is really hard for them. But Benji stayed on the mic afterwards and he was like gassing up Rins. And I really appreciate that. I mean, it's like a little thing out of the server, but I think it shows a great deal of his character as a player about him in this team as well. He's not just some clout player that they've picked up. He's a player that's quite hungry and he's clearly filling in, a very critical dynamic, I think, is just that team chemistry aspect. It was just a little glimpse into it. We don't normally see it because we're only looking at the numbers and the gameplay usually.
And I'll tell you too, Brent, that's kind of where I doubted a lot of Benji was because I didn't see that personality from him when I followed him in Fortnite. The dude was incredibly skilled, like one of the best mechanical players I've ever watched. You get hours and hours of just watching him do stuff, and you're like, what the fuck? But in terms of comms, in terms of like mentality, I was like, I don't know if he's gonna be able to perform at the same level in Valorant. Because to me, like it's not all about that, but it's like such a significant factor, and to see it shine for him here, I think it's insane the level of growth that the guy's had. I mean, granted, when I was watching him, he was fucking 14, 15, 16,
Yeah.
like now he's 8, now he's a
It's
fucking
crazy he was
adult.
playing for the 92 Lakers when he was only 14 a couple of years ago.
That was so
is
impressive.
crazy.
He was just a young gun back then.
I think this is you're seeing it both with Karmine Corp and Heretics, and probably some of the other teams that we're going to see in the next couple of years too. Like, this is what happens when you put together very hungry young players who haven't set their ways for how to play a competitive game like Valorant,
Yeah.
and they're very moldable, coachable, all that stuff. I think this is exactly the sort of thing that you're going to get. Now, is that always going to work? Is it going to falter potentially in Madrid? Yeah, maybe.
Okay, well, let's talk about that then. Because that, to me, is one of the interesting points. There's a lot of doubters about these Heretics players because they've never accomplished anything particularly like in the past before. There's a lot of people talking about how Boo's gonna drop off, the team's gonna choke. They only played online. For reference, they played like all of these matches were played on an online server when they had like 25 ping. So
I've had a goddamn enough of the rookies are gonna choke on that land narrative. I've had a goddamn enough of it. The rookies are they just haven't choked online. If anything, Heretics is set up to succeed. They're already living in Europe. It's not like they're fucking flying across the world. They're going to Spain. It's like an hour flight. They're already gonna be set up to boot camp, to practice, to be prepared. And exactly, that was gonna be my next point. This is the team that, well, they don't really have, like, they don't, it's not a Spanish team with the players, but it is a Spanish organization. The fans are going to be behind this roster. They're not gonna be out there in Brazil getting booed by 10,000 Loud fans. They're going to be in an auditorium with support, and they're also starting in a Swiss stage where you get at least one kind of lower stakes match to get going. I think this is the format and the setup to make it far less likely, in my opinion, for any of that choking to happen. I also just rate these players highly enough that I don't believe in it. I really think they're going to succeed.
For Rians, this is going to be his first time even playing on stage. So the others have all played on stage,
Don't care.
and they've absolutely popped off. You just don't give a shit about that at all.
Yep.
Okay, utterly based of you, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
the-
have we seen examples of rookie players failing at LAN?
We
Yes,
tend to
the-
see it like
the
their
guard.
second event.
The guard turned up to
God.
their first event, and they
Okay.
shat the bed.
Josh
What
was
about
prepared for
DRX?
this.
Who was prepared for this?
DRX, sure. I mean, Foxy Nine's never really popped off though, so I don't know whether you.
God
Dude,
damn.
holy
Oh,
shit.
Wilkinson.
Jesus
Dude.
Christ.
What are you
Shit.
talking about? You can't
Savage.
choke if
That's
you've never been
fucked
good.
That is
Dude,
fucked.
come
That's
on,
fucked
man.
up.
Holy
That's just a
shit.
fact.
Say
First
that.
you go
That's
after
fucked.
tens, and then you go after Foxy Nine.
Well, then that
man.
means Foxy Nine's about to swap to Smokes and become a greatest of all time fucking candidate.
I mean,
so
he is in
By the
Take
way,
it.
you're saying the guard choked, and remember they lost to Optic and then a close game to Paper Rex. Like,
It was not close. It was not close. It was
okay,
not
and
close.
also they were the
Okay.
number one team from Americas at the time, or from North America at the time, and they were expected to
Optic
win
never
at
won a
least one
regional
of those
final.
games.
Optic never won a regional final. That's fake.
So?
Winning NA was so
What?
fake back then.
No, they never
Who
have.
cares?
Yeah, but it wasn't fake. They were on fire, and I mean, just look at the VODs of how they won in America versus how they played.
Yeah, they
That's true.
choked.
Okay.
They choked.
This
choked
what I'm saying is
massively.
kind
They
of
choked.
fraudulent, but
No,
that is the
but
only
also,
case.
We've had, I feel like last year we had so many rookies that just
Yes.
popped the fuck
And
off
also
on
the guard
stage.
was a full team of
Yes.
rookies versus Heretics that actually has like experienced players there with them.
Yeah,
Who-
yeah. I'm not saying that it
who
is
is
a
Benjyfishy.
narrative. Rookies playing on stage
Had
is
attack.
not a narrative, but it has happened like occasionally. It doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't even happen most of the time. It just occasionally happens.
Yeah, 100%. It's not. It's
but-
not a fake narrative, but it is.
There is a big difference though playing the game online versus on LAN.
Sure.
From everything that we've heard from the players, like holding angles on LAN, using Phantom on LAN, like those kind of things, offing
Phantom-
on LAN,
The Phantom
make a
was-
massive difference.
You're like, what the fuck is this guy? I thought the shit was
Yeah.
like the fire rate is so fast, man. It's so fast. The Vandal too. Oh, everybody got back on the mic. Look at these. Look at them.
Good teammate
Yeah.
alert.
Holy.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, if you guys don't think it's a narrative, it's not a narrative. Let's move on to the next topic, shall we? The next one that I want to talk about is Loud in their game against EG. Because Bren, you didn't have this one. Did you have this one, Pred? Did you go for Loud in this
He's
game,
the
or did you
biggest
just Pred
defender.
upsets the whole way?
Because we didn't pred the qualifier matches, did we?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Oh no, we
Go
did. Yeah, I had EG winning this, and then they won the first map, and then they went down for the last two. But
That first
yeah,
map.
the first map
was
was a
nuts.
fantastic example of actually just what was strengths for EG. I think just preparation wise and them popping the fuck off in terms of just picking apart, dissecting a comp that a team had ran. And at that point, we had seen Loud play it twice. And I was like, holy shit, they are fucking cooking. Like, Jogmo was frying. The whole team had great ideas of how they wanted to respond to it. And then the other maps, it just started to fall to pieces. Because, yeah, EG, they had their deadlock comp, but it was pretty evident that Loud obviously had VODs on them too. And then Sunset on top of it. Like, they'd already seen them play Sunset. So you ran into this scenario where it was like, okay, well, one team's did a really good job of anteing them, and then Loud immediately clapped back. But it wasn't even just the anteing. It felt like when it got to Sunset, almost, I don't know, it was like Derek was the no help meme, where it just felt like it was all on fucking him at some points, which is not true. Valorant's a team game. But God, it was heartbreaking to watch him like get a 3K. And then
they lost the round.
They would lose a round when they were advantaged, like consistently on Sunset, which I think that's like normal. You're playing against Loud, which is a team that is one of the top 2 teams in Americas right now. And this roster has the lowest expectations, I would argue, of any of the rosters that we probably had coming into the Americas this year, just based on how it's been thrown together. And I mean, yeah, you got Jorg and Potter, you know, as the remnants of this EG squad, but still, I think they did quite well. With all things considered, like with the players that they've got and how they did actually play in that first map, I think this EG squad has potential, for sure.
They stole the script from Loud EG last year.
They did.
Where it wasn't a 13-0 on Sunset, but what did it end up being? 13-5 or something? It was a stop.
It's you anti-strat perfectly the first map, you lose a kind of close second map, and then you get rolled.
Yeah.
And then what? You play again in playoffs. You lose one more time to Loud in a much closer game, and then you start fucking shitting on everybody. Okay,
Yep.
I'm down.
Possible.
It's
I'm ready.
Possible.
EG might just start coming back from this, I think, as being like one of those top teams in the league. I mean, for me, they are reaching the same. It's the same script. Like you said, it's just fucking lazy writing from the script writers, because you've got the same win cons that EG were really hammering early on, which was their big set plays. You remember their Pearl Yoru comp? Like back in the day, right at the beginning of last year. And that was the only thing that they had going for them. But then they shored it up in the middle. And they shored it up with like the mid-round. And they shored it up with really good decisions. And they fleshed out tons of maps. I mean, Pearl became they became the best team in the world at Pearl because of their understanding of it. I think you might see a similar trajectory for EG. That's my prediction for this team, is that they're going to be battling, I think, to be a team that makes it to at least champs by the end of the year.
Yes. If not even Shanghai.
Which is crazy to say, considering how stacked the talent are and like the teams. Like you think about the top teams in America, and we're putting EG as a potential team that could potentially go. It's like only four teams per region. So they'd be contending with teams like Lev, like potentially G2 if they have an upswing.
Lev and
like
NRG.
Cloud9 make a resurgence. Yeah, like NRG. But I do think they could do it. I mean, they've proven it from last year. Yeah, they don't have the same pieces, but yeah, it's a lazy fucking script.
My hope is that I actually think it's very good for EG that they didn't make Masters Madrid. Because I think very comparable to last year, what this team needs is they have good ideas. The team is fully bought into it. That was the same last year, right? Like Potter was cooking. They had good anti-strats. They had some cool comps. And the team was bought into the idea and everyone was committed to it. And that was good from the start. What they needed was time to build up the fundamentals and build up the synergy with the team and kind of get their IGL confident with calling, get everyone just like gelling. I actually think having this basically month off before Split 1 to just work on those things, very similar to last year, will actually be very good for EG. And I have a lot of confidence that when they come back, this will be a team that will be fairly competitive with the top teams in the league.
See, that sounds very reasonable when you put it like that. When I say I want Crew to lose and it's good for the org long term, people call me like the monster. That's, yeah.
Okay.
The
difference between the two is you were saying that because you're saying they need to lose so they'll drop players. I was saying that they needed to lose so they could have more time to practice and become good buddy friends and work on their fundamentals.
Okay, let's talk about
Mimi's a
love,
nice
though,
person. You're fucking Dr. Robotnik, you evil fucking Jesus.
I will take the crystals. What is it? What are they called again? The
Chaos Emeralds. The
Chaos Emeralds. There we go. So Loud's comp got anti-stratted to hell on Ascent. The Phoenix Breach KO double smokes comp, in my opinion, got absolutely rinsed. I mean, the Cypher setups were extremely good for being able to deal with what they were doing. And the double Odin that EG was running was also eviscerating Less's take of B main. He just got completely shut out of the map, basically. And then what was the other thing that they were doing? Like a bait and switch setups in mid. So instead of fighting mid, where you could just drop the wall and give yourself an advantage, they were like tucking people in the close corner. And then when one person dashed away, they have no recon dart to be able to clear a player that's just tucked close, and they got whacked there. Do you think this is a playbook for taking down Loud's comp on Ascent? Should Loud come into Madrid and change the composition that's got them there?
Yes,
Yeah, I would say so.
but I don't think they will. I think Sadok is all in on this idea. It's like what 4 maps they're running the Phoenix breach like sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And he tried to run it last year at Champs, not with the Phoenix, but like the same sort of ideas. I don't think it has legs personally. I think, especially when you watch that game, there's just there's not the same power with the level of entries you get with the rest of the more standard stuff. And I think EG just displayed that, right? Like you said, the Cypher trips that they were putting out, it's like there's no entry power. It's very, very gimmicky.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing though. Like Loud like you were saying, Loud when they have these ideas, they like really tend to stick to the identity and try and make it work. Like last year, even when they were running their weird Ascent comp, they were trying it like champions. They played that 2, maybe 3 matches before they decided to change it. Like they tend to get very committed to trying to make these ideas work. And I think this comp can work on some of the other maps. I like what I actually like it a lot on Sunset. I really don't like it as much on Ascent. I think playing no dive on this map is so incredibly difficult. And now that they've shown VODs, I am hopeful they go back to default comp. But if they do, I think that does give them somewhat of an advantage because you can like waste people's prep time with this stuff. I think that's one thing I wanted to honestly see more teams doing in kickoff, showing a comp and then being able to like go back to default comp and using that as a way to waste people time. By the way, this clip was wild for Jaw.
Yeah.
He's playing ranked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's nuts.
But this is one of the ways that they were countering it as well as disrupting the util setups. When they're gearing up, winding up for the big execs, just taking those fights at times when they're not expecting it. I do think that they should change the comp up on Ascent after this footage, but it's one thing to anti-strat it, it's another thing to put it into practice, which EG were really good at. A lot of teams I don't think are going to be quite as good at being able to alter everything for a match against them. And like you said, Mimi, if they do change it, it's wasted prep for a lot of teams. They're going to feel like they might want to just focus on their own game instead, which teams might, and we've seen them opt into, I think, when teams go for these gimmick comps. I think there's good reasoning though behind Sadok wanting to force this archetype of comp all the time, and it's because the way that Loud play, this new era of Loud, where they're really quite tight together and they're playing to these strengths, they really make maximum usage of their one, the flashes that they've got, which they've got in abundance, but 2, the comp has incredible ults that you can just snowball into round advantages that we saw them do all the bloody time. And they have a really good understanding of like playing to that comp strengths. Like if they lose the pistol round, they're most likely going to be trying to farm up the orbs around the map to try and generate the ults at least for the next one. If they're winning rounds, they're going to try and maximize the ults that they've got on the next player by sending them hunting some of the eco kills to really get that generated. And that's one of the bread and butters of Loud right now that makes them a really dangerous team, is that's all rock solid game plans. Like their macro understanding of how to play the game of Valorant is not affected by them playing a gimmick comp. They will make that gimmick comp work even if it can be counter-stratted because they know the strengths of it and they play to it.
Yeah. I think your point as to you have to execute the anti-strat well as well is so important, because when you think about the way that Masters Madrid is going to work, it's a Swiss-style group stage, which means you need to be prepped for every opponent, which means that everybody needs to be looking at Loud's composition, and they can't all spend the amount of time that EG did prepping for this game. And if they just have a cursory glance at it and think, well, if we run Cypher and we, get set up against it, we'll probably be okay. But not every team has somebody like Jorg that can go and disrupt it. Not every team. I mean, I could definitely see some of the teams locking Cypher and then, Loud are just playing their default comp. And now you've just got a Cypher.
Yep,
or they play
exactly.
Cypher and they play it on the same site instead of putting trips for the opposite site. And you just get hit by the KO knife. And then it's over.
Yeah, it's
like
risky.
those kind of things.
But I think most of the top, I'm already putting teams in buckets, but I think the top bucket at Madrid are all teams that are insanely good at anti-stratting. Like,
yes.
You put, for example, K-Corp. Like, Eng is a king on that sort of level. I can't think of many teams that are not good at the anti-strat aspect of things. Maybe not like to the level of let's switch our comp for it, but I think most of the time people aren't willing to do that in the first place. So
yeah,
I think you're going to be seeing a more level-headed approach to it where you don't have the time to really commit to something like EG did, for example.
I want to ask you just about Loud's chances in general. I know I mentioned at the beginning that the bookies have Loud as like the favorites right now before any betting really begins. The bookies. Well, that's the
You
only way
love
that you can
talking
have.
about the bookies, Josh.
I think it's really interesting, man, because I mean the whole point is that they have a bunch of data analytics to make money, right? Like if they get stuff wrong, they literally lose money. We don't. We just lose a little bit of credibility, or we just talk about how it was a very unpredictable
How much
tournament
less
or whatever.
do we have to lose?
Yeah, exactly. We've got none left. So, would you expect Loud to be favorites? Like, are you buying into the idea that because this team has gone deep in tournaments before and has a ton of experience and really big time players like Les, Kao, and Zine, does that overpower in your mind the idea that they lost the finals to Sen, that the EMEA teams look really cool with their rookie players? Like, are you on the Loud hype train?
Yep.
Not so much. Not for those reasons. I don't know. I don't even know why I would be on the hype train for them, but I kind of am. It's just not about like them with
It's not about them
experience or anything.
doing it before.
It is, I guess, but like it's not like weighing it against the fact that everybody else is rookies or anything like that. I just Loud is gonna make a deep run.
Because that's what they always do.
That's what they always do, yeah.
Yeah.
Based. I have no reason, and I don't believe the reasons you've given me, but it's happening.
I think they're one of the best teams at the event when it comes to their understanding of how to work the map on an attack side. I think that they, like you said, they have comps that require a lot of preparation, and some teams, the top teams at the event, like Karmine Corp or Sen, will do that prep, and Heretics as well, I would argue. I'd put them in the same boat. But I think other teams, there hasn't been the same evidence that they can do it. And a lot of teams we know will play their own game. I think it's almost fucking predetermined. It's destined that Loud are going to reach top 4 at Madrid, in my opinion, just based off that alone. Because we know that they've got the firepower. I think the team play is all there. I think they understand how their comp works critically enough that they will always play to the strengths of it. And this is a team. I'm done counting this fucking team out. I'm done counting them out because, listen, we watched Tokyo, and yeah, they had like an absolute flounder of a performance, and then they went straight back to champs, and they ended up turning it all the way around again, despite all the community narrative that there was fucking internal strife, and it was like that TV program where they got the footballers' wives and the drama and fucking everything else. Didn't matter, man. It's still Loud at this team, and you know, and despite all the turbulence, we were asking questions about Loud with Aspas gone, and they proved themselves already. I think that they're still a top team in Americas, even with Aspas gone. Like this team, they have strengths outside of just the firepower, and they have strengths outside of just the quote unquote gimmick comps that they're really bought into. And for me, that's enough to put them in the top 4.
I also think Les is playing like maybe the best player in
Yeah.
the world right now.
Yeah,
Les is the GOAT.
He's ridiculously good. Like mechanically insane. They're building the comps in a way where he can play Viper on literally all 7 maps, and he just is the best Viper player in the world. Like you cannot discount how ludicrously good that guy is.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
he
from
sometimes
an
just looks like he
individual
wants to
level,
win.
all these like they're all playing insane, and I think that's probably where like my biggest excitement with the team is. Like even Sadak, bro, is just saving them games early on in the tournament. Like the dude he was like, I'm done playing this. I'm gonna close it out. Goodbye. Good night.
I actually think what you said, Josh, of they're just a team that sometimes they just want to win, and they do. It's so fake, but it's also kind of apt because
It's so weird. You watch them play, and you're like, oh, Les just decided he's given up with the game plan, and he's just going to run around and win the game for them.
yeah. And
Like,
same with Sadak. Sadak had 2 fucking matches where he did that too.
Yeah, and it's so strange because they normally have such a rigor to the way that they play, and then you just watch the minimap and Les is running off on his own, like hunting
Yes.
down kills,
He's just fucking
and you're like,
walking
oh,
forward.
yeah, he's just holding W, running at people, knowing he's going to win the
He
game.
turns
duels,
from
and that's-
man to machine and just becomes the Terminator for like 5 rounds.
I swear,
Which
every
is-
time
it's so
you watch
bizarre.
him find somebody around the corner, like he hears something, he just turns into a fucking shark. He's like, I just smell the blood. And he's just like around the corner. He will not stop until he kills that dude. It's
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the opponents then that they played twice throughout this tournament, and they ended up losing to in the finals, which is Sentinels. They are so fucking
They're
bad.
so fucking
They're
back,
so
man.
back.
They're so back.
Sen
They're so
City,
bad.
baby!
Holy shit. Is it
They're
still possible
so
to buy
back.
stocks at the public investment of Sentinels?
I think it is,
10,000, please.
actually.
I'd like to 1v1 10s. Dude, That team is so fucking back. It's unbelievable.
They're so good.
There's an argument going around. I think it was TMV was saying that he thinks that Sentinel's map pool isn't that good. And I can understand why he comes from this point of view, because they played Split and Sunset in the majority of their games, and it's two of their best maps. So I can understand this, and also in the best of 5, it went the distance. But I think with that argument, you don't consider the rest of the playing field. And that's that almost every team has been set back by the Sky nerfs, and almost every team doesn't have fleshed out maps right now. Everyone's map pool fucking sucks ass right
Except
now.
for Karmine Corp.
And the fact that Sen, except for Karmine Corp, a few exceptions, but Sen have managed to, one, make their pre-existing comp on Split work, which is really good. But they've just managed to adapt really well to the Sky changes. Like, they're not getting caught out. Like, you're seeing teams get outvalued over time, still playing Sky in the same way and expecting to always have that mid-round information. They're being quite smart with the way that they play it. And their defense side is just sublime on Split, in particular, as a map. But I genuinely think that they've got very good map pools. I think if you look at the latter 2 maps in the finals as well, the latter 3 maps, it ends up being really one-sided just based on the halves that ended up getting played. Because both teams just ended up sucking at the defense for Icebox and Bind. And then Lotus, Sen finally got their attack side, which is where they've been showing a lot of strengths on maps where they don't have a lot of structure, time, really testing their defense protocols. That's where they've been shining, because they still have that strength of being able to play off of each other and making the right calls. And John QT's calling on the macro level is so sublime. So this team has countless strengths available to them. They are one of the top contenders going into Madrid in my mind. I don't know if I would put them at number 1, but I definitely think I would put them up there easily in the top 4.
I wouldn't be mad if someone did put them at number 1. Let's put it like that, right?
Yeah.
Which is a pretty bonkers place to be at with this team that everybody was hyped about coming out of the off season, but we didn't actually know how it was going to translate. Like, I think you could describe Plat as being cautiously optimistic about Sentinels heading into kickoff. I don't think any of us
learned our lesson from last year with 100 Thieves in the Red Bull fucking whatever it was.
Right, except the lesson went the other way this time.
Yeah, but the
so
lesson
it's not
was,
a lesson.
No, the lesson was we took the off-season events with a hefty grain of salt.
I don't know how
sodium.
cautious I am, guys.
Well,
for this. No, I'm saying we were.
Before they went into kickoff.
I'm saying off-season going into kickoff.
I am full bat chess mode for this team. Like, I've never heckin' loved 10s more than I do now. Like, I legit think this team is a favorite to at least be in the finals for this event. If you can say there is a favorite. Like, it's hard to know because the competition is so close and it's hard to compare, but I would not be shocked if they won Madrid.
Don't hedge your bat chest.
Yeah, just send it. Bat the chest.
No. I'm not batting my chest too early. I don't want to bat just yet. I just want to say, hey, it's possible. They look pretty good. This is the best Sentinels have ever looked.
Yes, this is the best the Sentinels have ever looked.
This is me, if you even care. Bat chest guy.
The defense side actually is where I'm most impressed with Sen. I know that they won a lot of their attack sides against Loud, and I think that's partly because Loud are playing crazy attack-sided comps themselves that kind of suck on the defense too. But I love these retake protocols that Sen have got set up. I think they're really smart about how they approach things. It's different strengths to Karmine Corp, but similar in the sense that they look electric in the retakes. And I think a lot of that is because they know what the attackers want to do. They know how they want to reposition based on the plant positions, and they can mix up their timings. They sometimes flood. They sometimes do a set retake. Always have somebody up in heaven waiting for the wraparound, for example, if you want to talk about Split. They just got a really good awareness of what they want to do that's been drilled into them. They are playing very standard compositions. Maybe not like super standard if you want to look at, like, you know, there isn't necessarily a current meta right now for maps like Split, right? But they aren't really playing anything too goofy. But they're just doing everything they do so well. Yeah, and they recently changed that. I feel like they innovated themselves in the offseason with the breach fade. I mean, this round is just ludicrous from TENS. It's absolutely fucking bananas bonkers. He's got 3 bullets. He uses his last one to pick off crashes after re-diving back into the site. And then he teleports forwards. It's just so nuts.
Does he get another teleport off, or am I misremembering with the shorty?
No, Demon 1 TPs into his face.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And then And then Demon One's forced to run at the spike because John's tapped it. It's just such a nice round, man. And bringing things back to the comparison with Karmine Corp, yeah, I'm not really seeing the same 100% drilled fundamentals with them. But their fundamentals are good, and their players are so willing to take those risks. And they're so good in those moments, man. Tens is winning more rounds than he's throwing away. Holy fuck. That's crazy. He's absolutely dominating rounds for them.
Biggest hater biggest hater since who's that dude on the NBA who's just like he gets memed on all the time?
Or fucking the opposite, the white
Skip
Stephen A.
Bayless.
Smith. There you go.
Bayless. You're like
Skip
him,
Bayless.
Josh. You're the biggest hater of Valorant history. Dude, you just praying
He's
on
still
their
throwing rounds
downfall.
away, but he's winning so many more for his team. He's just solo winning them so many rounds.
When there's clout involved, the answer is no.
No.
Dude, the talk about their fundamentals maybe not being as good as Karmine Corp, though, I think one of the biggest tests that they had to test that aspect of their gameplay was against NRG, and they met the test head on. Because for NRG, that's the way they've been winning maps. Like this team, that's another team as well that I don't know if we're going to talk about because we're going to be waffling for ages. But that NRG are a team that are clearly lacking prep time. Like they put the roster together. They had over a month's scrim time, I think, before kickoff, which is much less than a lot of the other teams. And you could tell that from their play. But the bread and butter of that team was like how they were really just finding those gaps, the individuals playing off of each other. And Sentinels were able to shut that down at the critical moments. And we've already seen clips and evidence of that just from watching these highlights here. That's a massive test for them that they managed to overcome. So yeah, I don't have
I feel like that's more
concerns.
macro though for NRG. Like the way that I feel like NRG got so much success going is because on their, I mean, first of all, what is that? But when I'm watching NRG, these players are finding their own timings all across the map. They have a decentralized nervous system. They're like an octopus. They can wriggle into any gap. They find the timing anywhere you like. And they play so loose. I've never seen a good team play this loose. They are a wizard sleeve. They are so loose. It's unbelievable. And yet they are still able to sync that up really nicely together.
I don't know how to recover from the fucking comparisons Josh just made. Oh, wizard sleeve. They're so
Yes.
loose.
God,
They're so loose. They're like a wizard sleeve.
Don't push this because the reason I'm stun locked is I've thought about the quote of where that's from, and I'm like, should I say it?
Don't know where that's from.
No.
Don't know where that's from.
No.
It hangs
Nopers.
loose around the wrist.
Nopers. Okay. So yeah, I mean, Sentinels is so good. Like John QT and Kaplan back together. Great yelling. I love Sentinels.
All right,
All the
well,
pieces are working.
we can wait until we get to the power rankings for you to bat chest further then, shall we? The
Yes.
China representatives. Now, of the teams going to Madrid, there are only four that were at Champions last year. So, of the teams now at Madrid, only 4 were at Champs from last year. 2 of those are the Chinese representatives, EDG and FPX. So, there is consistency, at least in China, even if there isn't anywhere else in the world.
That's crazy. Out of 16 teams, man. This offseason was insane.
Out of 16 teams, only a quarter of them made it to Madrid
That's
afterwards.
so nuts.
Obviously, only half of them could have gone anyway because it's half the size.
But
right?
still, that's like half of what's possible, which is insane for like the championship level teams.
Yeah.
Like dividing by 2.
Damn.
That's like 50%, bro.
What is
Wait,
going
that's
on
like
here? Did
half of
everybody
100.
take an edible before the show?
I don't know what you guys are
Knocked
talking
out on
about.
this?
Like, what are you
Wait, but
talking
Kurt,
What
did you
is
know that like
happening?
50% of 50% is like fucking
Did you guys know that we were fucking
Have you ever seen a
back out of the
quarter
amount of
before?
things
It's like
that are in the
25
world?
cents. You can like do laundry with that.
Okay.
Julia Tripazillion.
Let me rein the stoners in and let's talk about EDG and FPX. So these are 2 of the favorite teams to be able to make it now that Rare Atom's fallen off a cliff and no longer playing like themselves after they dropped their IGL. Great idea, by the way, dropping your IGL right before the year begins. That's definitely a great idea. So EDG and FPX. Any thoughts? Is this the year of China? the FPX team, when they won, had a really, really lovely quote where they said, "We're sick of coming to Masters tournaments and learning from them. It's time for them to learn from us," which I think is cold as fuck. I think that's awesome. But ain't nobody learning from FPX, let's be real. They're just not.
It's only cold if you're Kong, bro. You can't be saying that otherwise. You better fucking show it.
The Breeze Comp's kind of cooking on the attack side.
Cooking, man. That comp's cooking. I think this team have the biggest thing. My takeaway from all of this was that holy shit, like the FPX and EDG have leveled up so much from just that international experience. Because you watch other Chinese teams and they miss the mark like massively. Like I used to watch China as a region and they would just go for 5 hits, 4 on defaults, and they would just have an idea and they're like, today we are going to hit B. And then they would try and hit B and they would die. And they were like, well, that didn't work, but we're not going to intake any of the information as to why that didn't work. We're going to do the next plan, which we will hit A. And it would just only work off of their preset plans. They would never think about what the opponent was doing. And so that made them unconditional to a degree, which is very weird because when you expect a certain level of when you expect a certain reaction by doing a move against a team, sometimes when they do the complete opposite, it can be like the fucking 0 IQ to 200 IQ meme, where they're just like on the bell curve, you know? But FPX have leveled up a lot, I think, in terms of their overall calling and understanding. They're still a bit slow on the mark. Like when they're trying to play the map, I noticed that they were a little bit slow on the mark. Like they take their time with it, but they're making the right moves to try and force a rotation, try and, you know, take some space in an extremity and then maybe go re-hit it a little bit later on. Stuff that I thought was missing from the general playbook of some of the teams in China. And EDG have gone even one step further where they are just throwing in tempo switch-ups. They're throwing in adjustments to the way teams are playing. They're adapting really well, at least from the footage that I've seen. And I've been told that the finals is a completely different beast. Entirely for these two teams, so I'll leave that out there. But of the qualifier matches that I watched, I think that these aren't regions that are going to go mapless or winless. They're both two teams I think that can actually do some serious damage. And for EDG, I think that they can potentially take some wins against some heavy hitter teams as well. Like the opening matchup, EDG PaperX. I'm thinking about that, and I'm like, dude, I would favor EDG. I would genuinely favor EDG over PaperX right now in their current state.
And that's partly because you're not feeling too great about PaperX, or are you just that high on EDG?
Both, I think.
Okay.
But I think PaperX are just, they're slow starters, and Pacific as a whole, as a region, has just really leveled down because of all the changes that they've made. And and I think EDG have just massively improved from the last time I watched them. At least from the games that I watched. Again, I've been told that the final is a different beast entirely. So
yeah,
I need to watch it later today or maybe tomorrow. But yeah,
I watched EDG play against Trace on Sunset, and I was like, it was their first map of the qualifying game. And with context, EDG are normally way better in big matches. When it comes to Chinese Valorant, EDG just kind of fuck around a little bit in the regular season. And then it comes to like a grand final or something, EDG level up. They have another gear to go to. So I was like, right, well, this game really matters. So they're playing against on Sunset. Holy shit, this was a banger. It was awesome. I mean, there were some things that Trace was doing that I think EDG could have probably tackled a little better, but generally speaking, this was really well played by both teams. They both had really nice ideas, some good set plays in there, some good adjustments to each other, variety of tempos. Definitely looks like China got a lot better, and Trace is kind of part of the reason why. Goes to map 2, map 3, wasn't really impressed. Goes to the finals, wasn't impressed. So I feel like this was a bit of an outlier map that was just really, really good quality.
Yep.
Because the rest of the tournament from EDG, I thought was pretty floppy.
Yep. Floppers.
They
like from
floppers.
Fortnite, like from Benjyfishy, like from
HP.
Heretics.
Yeah. Yeah, I think...
Why did you
Benji
say
really
that?
won.
Because they weren't showing the same diligence with their protocols, because they were not mixing up the tempo, because all those things you just listed about Sunset, I was like, if you do it once, you can apply the same concepts to other maps. It's not just because they have a really good understanding of the map, which
But they
did.
didn't, I feel like.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I need to watch the game.
Yeah,
I don't
so-
know.
it feels like I've watched them in the off season. Like you guys were trying to convince me that they weren't going to be able to like perform when it comes to this year because of a lot of the off season stuff that you saw, which was very lackluster from EDG. But I don't know. They're to me, they might be better than that level, but they aren't even close to the level that they were reaching internationally last year, and that's a big deal. It's just, I don't know. I don't even know how to quantify it. I don't know how to describe it. It's just lackluster.
I would say it's also very sloppy. There was a lot of individual peaks. Howdong's individual form has gone down quite a lot as well, I think. The stuff that we saw from them in the finals where they both played against each other on Breeze, if you want to start there too. Both teams, I think, are lacking a lot of the really solid teamwork that we're seeing from a lot of the top teams right now, where they just end up peaking one at a time in a lot of spots, or they're in a post plant. And I mean, I'm thinking of a situation in Breeze specifically where EDG create an advantage because FPX do a slip up or EDG have a nice play at the start of the round. It gets into an advantage scenario and they just start kind of peaking to close out the round instead of allowing the round to come to them and using their teamwork to close it out better. So there's multiple spots where they were playing post plants on Breeze. They're all around the A site, around the pyramids, and there's a player just taking a fight from A main while the other two are tucked. Yeah. They die, and now it's a 2v2. And then the two players, they try to flash peek, person throws a flash and then peeks, and then they die, and the other one peeks like a second later instead of doing a flash double thing. It's like these small things, they're just messing up, and it's so sloppy compared to the top level right now.
It feels like there's two players on that team who set the pace, and in prior iterations of EDG, everybody's able to be able to keep up or whatever and is ready to swing or gets there in time. Here it's like they can't keep up with Kong. They can't keep up with the decisions that nobody makes, and as a result, it looks sloppy. That's what I'm seeing with EDG. And with FPX too, I don't know, man. I watched that game and I was just not impressed at all with their opponents in their qualifying match. And,
China's really hard to quantify because of the opponents that they play against.
Right.
Like, you're trying to judge them. I'm looking at them and you're really missing a piece of the puzzle because you're not seeing potential holes in their setups get tested. Well, FPX's Breeze, when they played it the first time around in that qualifying match, dude, they're running no Sentinel, and holes might as well have not existed on the map with how little the fucking who did they play? Dragon Ranger Gaming were playing it. Yeah. They were never playing it. They were massive holes that should be there in theory. Teams aren't thinking about it, which is how I felt when I used to VOD review China. But FPX and EDG, I do think still have those strengths where they are. Yeah. They've leveled up from the international experience, and I'm again, they're another situation where I don't want to doubt EDG when they look poorly, because I remember when I did all the preparation ahead of Tokyo, and I was like, man, this team just looks worse because of the same stuff that you guys are saying right now. We're just dude, they're just taking weird peaks, individual fights, losing them. They look sloppy gamers, and then they ended up actually performing even better than they ever have before, I would argue, in Tokyo, because the level of play rose even at that event, even more so, and they reached the same kind of point at champs again. But dude, Tokyo was when they really broke through, I think, and they found some of that marks.
They can absolutely turn it on for bigger events. But the very first clip that Kurtz just opened up, you have Ayoung trying to counter ult, misses the counter ult completely, has no idea where it's going, and nobody just hits him with two ults towards the back of sight. So they just lose that right off the beginning there, FPX. I think also that FPX is generally in this round, their post plant ended up being good, but one of the big themes for them was that they had good ideas to get to the site, but they didn't afterwards. Kurt, can you pull up round 23 from that same map? Because I think there was a biblical event that happened during the China final that I want you all to witness. Because FPX could have won this game. FPX could have won and been the number one seed coming out of China and have these 3 points. I know the final was 3-1, but it is extremely plausible because the final map went to overtime on Ascent, and that was also a bit of a toss where FPX were in the lead. They were up 12-10, and they probably should have won on Ascent, right? And this was what they did at the very beginning. It's round 23. And the beginning of this round doesn't matter so much, but, it's like a defense of EDG trying to recover the map. It's 12-10. They're trying to get in over towards the A site. They've got Chishu just absolutely hard lurking on the other side of the map, not really contributing. Things get snarled up. They're just hiding somebody in that small area. Howdong only bought glass cannon fucking rifle in this round as well. Didn't buy any armor. It's a 4v2 to close it out for FPX to win the map.
One player
right?
has 3 HP.
Lysor's positioning, he doesn't really know where anybody's coming from. He's just way out in the open. And Lysor's positioning lost them the final round of overtime doing a very similar thing as well. Chishu gets the pick, he ults, and as FPX realize that B is open, they anticipate Howdong rotating with the spike over towards B, right? A pretty reasonable read in the moment. They have the gate crash in spawn.
No way.
FPX go.
No way.
Howdong sneaks into A and plants. And at this point,
No
FPX
way.
could have heard the beeping. They don't realize that it's planted on A. They keep going for Chishu. They're like, guys, it must be planted here. Recon into backside. They're starting the retake like it's NRG Koi a lock-in again. They're hunting for Chishu. At this point, the timer's ticking over towards A. Chishu's delaying more and more time. Autumn now has to run his way through mid, and Howdong's repositioned. Here's all of the footsteps coming through as well. Remember, this is 12-10. They were in a 4v2 to win the round. By the way, if you had audio at this point, the round is already over, guys. Ayang, even if he's stuck the spike, doesn't even have time because they didn't know what site it was even planted on. They just got lost in their heads. And this is also very similar to how they lost on Ascent. So rounds like this just have destroyed my faith in China. Because what's happening in these games is that EDG are getting away with that. Like they really should have lost that map. That should have been a lost round. Even after finding Lysor and getting the punish and using the ult and causing a bit of a rotate, there should have been a moment there where they realized, guys, it's not planted here. Let's actually turn around before we decide to retake a site that it's not planted on. And then again, round 23, Kurt, if you want to look it up, is a very similar thing over on Ascent, which was the final map, where they should have they had a Euro ult. They go in, they have a shorty. They should have been able to get the opening kill on Howdong, who was anchoring at the backside of A. And instead, they tried to do some wacky shit instead of just, he's holding Paranoia in his hands. Motherfucker's holding Paranoia. FPX are just going for a burst. Like, watch this from Life's perspective and tell me if this isn't just the most slam dunk. You have util in your hands. I am going to run at you and shorty you. I mean, you see him with Paranoia in his hand the whole time, and they fuck up all of the utility that gets onto him. Howdong kills 3 from backside. A guy that's not in form right now just crushes them. They lose in OT. Same thing as Breeze.
God.
That's beautiful.
So I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore with China. I can't do it anymore. These rounds are murdering me.
Josh.
And
you just had the most legendary rant since fucking Scream K-Corp Ascent moments that I was ready. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get a TikTok for this one. And then you
it was too long.
And then, no, it was fine. I was like, I could edit this. We could save this. And then the fucking most banger line has to be, I've lost all faith in China. Like, that's not going to do good on TikTok, man. It's fucking over.
You can just add something now and we can edit it in after the fact.
Oh,
take
shit,
his cam
what-
full screen. Everyone get ready to laugh.
What should the line be at the end? What should the line be? Oh God, can I crowdsource it? What?
We've had melons. We've had like.
Yeah, but if it can't
what
be
are
bad
they
about China,
doing?
and I'm
Like-
talking about not having faith in the Chinese teams, like how do I turn that around? How do I turn that around?
Say, I love TikTok. say it, and we'll
Say
laugh.
hello, TikTok.
I love TikTok. There we go. We'll just put that at the end.
Yeah,
That's a
put
good
that
idea.
in. That's good.
Put that in. Another 1 million views on the TikTok. Easy peasy. But those are the kind of rounds, Brendan, where I'm talking about the level of play being wonky, and bearing in mind that those are the outliers that are bad. The normal level of play is just the sloppiness that I was talking about before.
And have you been convinced?
Not really. I mean,
It's only 2 examples.
Yes. Yeah, that's you've cherry picked 2 examples out of a stressful BO5 between 2 teams that are deeply familiar with each other, and regularly I've just seen shit go
Well,
to
if they're
pot
so
between 2
familiar with
teams.
each other, maybe they should have known which site the opponent was planting.
Well,
on.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fucked, right? It's a bit. I mean, one, for as an example, why you're rotating all your players off the site and anticipating that when you haven't had any confirmation, other than just 1 player's on the other side of the map. Besides the point, I've seen instances where 2 teams, they are competitive to each other in the region, and the round devolves into like the maps devolve into slop, just sloppy gameplay with men greased up, fucking trying to wrestle each other. We're rolling all over the floors, and there's mud all over the place, and it stinks of testosterone and fucking and men. And it's sloppy gameplay. Sloppy gameplay.
What are you
I've
saying?
I've seen it in my
Brent's
dreams.
Brent's
I've
seen it.
in
In
my
your dreams.
You're
I've
dreaming of
seen it.
sloppy wet men in your
And I've
dreams.
I've seen it on the internet too. It exists. It's out there. It exists. But when it comes down to that, when you have two opponents, two teams that are deeply familiar with each other, the maps can devolve quickly, especially in
they're
high
deeply
pressure, high
familiar.
stake scenarios like that when you have a finals. So I'm willing to withhold my judgment, and I'm going to keep thinking about the sweaty men.
Can we please
Okay,
do the
fair
top 10
enough.
list? I
Yeah.
can't fucking do this anymore. I thought we said this was gonna be a short episode.
How was this ever going to be a short episode?
Said that.
Kurt said that.
I
Kurt
said
lied
next
to
week
us.
if we go do one in Madrid while you're.
Oh, okay.
Then-
yeah, I
yeah,
never
this one-
believed this was gonna be short.
Okay, let's
All right,
let's
2.5 more hours, boys. Let's get it.
let's hit the absolute banger part of this episode. Then we have power rankings coming up after this,
Oh, God.
which how is that possible? But we all submitted our top 10 players to Kurt. Picking your top 10 players for this. It's impossible.
Stop. I opened chat for 1 second by accident, and people are all typing Pacific ? Pacific. We already talked about Pacific, man. We talked about them last week. Please.
Yeah, we already discussed all
Guys,
of
I
that
don't know if
because
you
it wrapped
realize
up a
the
week
the
ago.
qualifier matches happened 2 weeks ago. And then we talked about it then, but
Did we talk about the finals as well? I don't know. We're going to talk about Gen.G when we do the power rankings anyway, so we'll
I
discuss
just
that.
realized I have a terrible regret with my top 10 list. Oh, I fucked up.
This is the worst top 10. This is my worst top 10 list of all time.
This is the best one I've ever done.
No, it's not.
This is
No,
quite
it's
it was
not.
quite easy
Brent,
for me.
all your
actually.
top 10s have been horrible up to this point.
They've
What
all
do you
been
mean?
incredibly based. I predicted the Alfie would fall off years ago. I'm kidding. That was mean. I'm kidding. I feel bad about that. They'll bounce back.
I went through and because I was also finding it difficult, I ranked every team by who I thought was best to worst, and then I ranked every role best to worst, and made sure that they all fit.
That's
within
what I
my
tried to
top
do,
10
and that's how I
system.
came up with Alfie out of my top 20, by the way. So good luck, kid.
That's ludicrous. That is
Yeah.
ludicrous.
Number
Okay.
one, that's sadistic and like, why would you do that to yourself?
I have so
So,
many regrets.
Kurt, who submitted these? What sample size are we working with here? It's not just us four.
Yeah, we got basically all the recent Plat Chat friends. So we got Achilleos, Bala, Bren, Chobra, Mimi, Paperthin, Ryan Central, Sideshow, TMV, and Wyatt submitted their preds. I sent one off to Sliggy, but he must have missed my message. I love you.
You must have
Please
missed it.
stop,
You must-
please stop ghosting me, Sliggy.
So, all right,
I think
let's
he
get
just
into
changed his Discord account. It's he'll message back soon.
it. Let's go. Do we start at 10? I've forgotten how this works. Are we
Yeah, that is how this works.
Yeah,
Jenner.
yeah,
All right. Then let's start at number 10. Let's
Oh,
unveil
shit.
your 10th best player at Masters Madrid. A tournament where nobody has any clue who's good or bad. It is something. Something makes the
my
top 10
God.
despite receiving only 3 total votes. Whoa.
Raise your hand if
Wait a
something was
second.
on your list. Raise your hand if
Of
something
course
was on
he's
your
on
list.
my list. Come on now, guys. None of you!
I
For the audio
I
listeners,
can't
Ball is the
remember.
only one to raise his hand.
I can't remember who was on my list,
How
Kurt.
could
Did
you
I have
forget
something on my
something?
list?
I didn't forget something. He
No,
was at
I-
number
I-
11.
I
on my
chose
list.
not to
Ryan
put him.
forget. No, I think that is reasonable. Don't get me wrong. I think it's very reasonable, but you can't just like forget about him.
I had him in and replaced him with Forsaken.
I think something's been the more impactful player in their recent run, personally. But I think Divine and Forsaken have also been playing fairly well.
Did you put the skin
that is-
capsule in the
it is
background?
awesome.
Like, what the heck is going
No,
on?
it's the
It's very
Masters
cool.
Madrid banner.
Oh, it
Oh,
does look
vibe.
like Paper
It
X.
is trippy.
Yeah,
I'm
I
entranced.
just added some flair to it, you know.
So
That's cool.
if something made number 10, despite the fact that only 3 of us submitted votes, and one of them was Bala, He must be really, really high on some other people's
My guess is
lists.
Bala had him like 5, and then 2 Pacific people both had him 1-1, and that brought him up.
Possibly.
Yeah, that might be the case. I forget where I put him. It was like 4 or 5.
Because I just don't. I put Forsaken on my list, and I regret it. I don't have faith in Paper X's tournament. I think they're getting grouped, so I'm
Well,
yeah.
Just
let's
to
start-
reiterate, 3 people ranked him rank 4.
Out of how many?
ooh,
I
3
don't
people
know.
ranked him rank 4.
There was like 10
I was-
total.
Yeah,
Seven,
10,
whatever.
10 total votes.
So, Arden, can you give us the case for something? Like, what are the positive
sa- it's
factors
the
for something?
Same case as every other year with something. The dude is just mechanically insane, and that hasn't changed. Like it's not like his decision making has gotten better or anything like that. He was a top 10 player last year, and he's a top 10 player this year. If anything, it should be easier for him to be in the top 10 this year, despite Paper X may be lacking because they don't have Jing this year. Like, I don't know. To me, I'm not really looking at where these teams are going to place or anything like that. I just think he's a top 10 player.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Giga Chad.
Yeah.
He's an extremely talented player. Let's move on to our number 9. Number 9 on the list for Masters Madrid is Karon. Karon is one of the only controllers voted on in the entire rankings. Really? That's
What?
one of the
Yeah.
only, not
One of.
the
One
only.
of only,
It's
not
got to be
the
him in
only.
10s.
I would say this is a bad meta for Sentinels and Initiators to stand out in terms of the teams that have made it. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I feel like there's a couple of Smokes players that I've got like on there, one of whom is Karon because he's been absolutely nuts in the games for Gen.G that he's played. And I feel like it's like Duelist and Flex players are going bonkers in this current meta. There's so many people playing double Duelist, I guess.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to gas lyrical about
He's-
Karon?
Yes.
He's insane. Right?
Like Gen.G
Maybe-
straight up would not be here if it were not for Karon's performances in their qualifying game. The clutches he had, particularly in their match against
that
DRX,
bind.
is the reason Gen.G qualified. I'm not saying it's the reason they won the finals, but it is definitely the reason they qualified.
Dude, the 1v2 that Karen was in and on bind that DRX threw.
Where he's flashed?
Holy shit. I was about to punch my monitor when I watched that
Yeah.
last night. That was unbelievable. Like, the man had goop all over his place. Every orifice covered in goop. And yet they still couldn't kill him. And he just ended up bringing it all the way back to win bind. I mean, it should have been a slam dunk finish. And it wasn't because of this guy. But it's not just the individual prowess and like him winning these clutches out. He works in tandem really well with him and Texture, right? I believe it's Texture most of the time. And the way they play off each other is just excellent because they're always either going to be trading each other out, or if one player is going to be taking a fight, it's like picking them apart when they're weaving in and out in a lot of their defensive setups, like always making sure that they play off each other. Dead impressed with this guy. I had him in my list roughly around this point as well, for good reasons, because he does look like one of the most impressive players that we've got on Smokes that we've got coming into the event.
Yeah, he does look fabulous. I was reviewing my list. I was reviewing some Gen.G VODs earlier today because I'd only really been watching them while we're prepping for the Americas. I hadn't sat down and done like a proper deep dive into them. And I think I underrated Karon. I put Karon at the 10th spot on my list, and I think he deserves higher. I do. And I think the 9th is at least, higher than where I put him. So I can't be that mad about that. But
Yeah.
I think I've dragged him down a little bit here, if anything. I feel like I've been unreasonable because this guy has been frying. He's been so damn good.
My guess the reason he isn't higher for the most part is people like waiting, either not having high expectations for Gen.G, which I don't think is real. I have very high expectations for them, or the fact that he is a rookie and it's that whole narrative, which again doesn't exist, isn't real, fake news. He's going to be insane.
He came straight out of ranked and is performing on stage immediately.
Yep.
I mean, he's about as rookie as it possibly gets. We talk about other rookies and they've been playing Valorant for years, or they've had a really successful career in a different game or something. And Karon is, as far as I'm aware, pretty much as rookie as rookies get, and he's lighting the world on fire.
I don't remember if I think he might have been 10th or something like that on my list. Probably not even on. I considered him for a bit, but Texture is just better for me. The reason I'm not there yet with Karon is I just think Pacific was ass. I think when I was watching him, I was like, TR's not shooting back sometimes, man. Like,
Yeah.
it was really bad. So Yeah, it's a region issue here for me with Karen. But maybe I'm hoping that he impresses me. I hope
Okay,
he's the next
Pacific as a
Mako.
region was definitely not looking the hottest, but APAC ranked, definitely the hottest region for ranked out there. And if this guy was an APAC ranked legend, you know he's gonna dominate. Bren
It's true. I
knows.
can attest for that shit. Genuinely. I come back, I'm smurfing in NA now, and I was
Notice,
like, Mortal
notice
2
how
peak.
many players are buying buckies in the international leagues these days. Where do you think that came from?
True.
Just think about that for a second.
Karen.
The shorty wave that
Yeah.
came
Yeah.
from Pacific and China as well. Yeah. Keep a look on them. They're the inventors of the new shotgun metas every time.
The judge is
Yeah.
next up.
I never
Let's
queue on
see-
Singapore past
When you
4
guys see the
PM.
double pump, it's gonna be Benjyfishy though. Okay, just letting you know.
Okay.
The 200 double pump.
Let's see who is number 8 on our list. Above something and above Caron, it is Martin. Don't compare me to Durka, Martin. One of 2 Czech players at Masters Madrid alongside Magnum. Martin has been outrageously good. He was a hot prospect coming in on the offseason. And the fact that he probably won't be the highest rated Karmine Corp player on the list, and he's in at 8th, is pretty wild, actually. That's pretty wild. Primary duelist for the team. He's been on fire. He's been nuts. He's been playing a variety of stuff. Yeah, what more can you say?
I mean, we already spent eons just glazing the shit out of Karmine Corp, and I mean, this is the guy that all the excellent swings, the excellent team synergy, the excellent supportive util is setting up. I love watching him play Yoru in particular. I think their ideas when he's playing that agent are insane, and the things he can pull off as an individual are just ridiculous. Like, yeah. I expect at least one more KC player on this list because the guys on this team are just performing at an absurd level right now.
Also Fortnite player.
Was
Take
he?
notes. Yeah. I think
Oh,
I told the
sick.
story before. He went to World Cup and one of like the best players at the time, like people had him as favorites, was Bizzle. And Bizzle complained on Twitter after that Martin was griefing him the entire time at his drop spot.
That's so funny. That's very funny. I'm looking forward to getting to hear from like Martin's personality more because he's already quite outspoken, and I think with that story too, God, there could be some untapped excellence here. Let's move on to number 7 on the list then, because we have already glazed Martin enough and Karmine Corp.
So insane.
Number 7 on the list is Kang. The oh wow, Kang is the only other player on this list that made the top 10 for Champions LA.
That's insane.
So what? It was him and something, and that was
Yes.
it.
Yep.
Oh my.
I mean,
Lord.
that's a testament to how crazy this tournament is going to be, how different it'll be from Champions.
Yeah, I think he was a little overrated in our top 10 in champs last time, probably because of me. But yeah, I mean, I still think he's the best opera in the world.
He is. Dude, I mean, without a doubt, like this guy he's got that magic about him. I mean, I think he's really leveled up individually as well. Just his game IQ, I think, as a player. When I'm watching him, again, I had the fortunate outcome of watching their qualifying match to base my opinions off of this. So I'm going off of that Sunset game into the Breeze game. But I think that, you know, from what I watched there, I mean, this guy is so damn good. Now, did I put him in my top 10? Can't remember. I think I forgot to put him on. But
I also didn't.
I don't hate
it.
it. I don't hate that he's in 7th. Like, I think that he's got that dog in him, man. He's like genuinely, like you said, one of the best oppers in the game. But he's got that level of intelligence that's there now on an individual level with his decision making overall. That I think just really, this guy's a top player in the game right now.
If EDG are going to go on a run, I think a lot of it is still going to come down to Kang, because I think that what EDG have demonstrated is that for me, I don't think they've leveled up all the other aspects of their game enough to avoid relying on Kang. And it's a duelist metagame. So Kang is going to have to outplay so many other outrageously talented players, who some of them are on teams where the teamwork looks a bit better too. So Kang's ask to do well at Madrid seems monstrous, actually. He's going to have to perform at this kind of level for EDG to go on a run, I think. Let's move on to number 6 on the list. Now we're cracking into some serious heavy hitters. Not quite at the top 5, but number 6 on your list for Masters Madrid is TenZ. TenZ! Mimi, do you heckin' love TenZ?
I heckin' love this guy. TenZ. Friends, you heckin' love this guy?
I heckin' love tens. I think he's the best. I've got his poster on my wall.
It's actually the only thing
Nothing
on,
on your wall.
It's like I'm in a padded room. It's just blank. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have much to say about tens. He's just good.
Unreal.
I like him.
Unreal.
I'm biased because I hung out with the Sentinels guys in Korea after Afrika, and they're really nice. So I just want them to succeed, and when they play well, I'm happy.
And that's why he's our number 6 player on the list.
Yeah, I don't have much
Okay.
more to say.
I know Wilkinson's going to give a backhanded compliment, so no, I'm instead going to just give a compliment of Tens has looked worlds better. He's looked streets ahead on Omen compared to what he was playing last year and even somewhat compared to the offseason.
That sounds
when
quite
he's on-
backhanded of you.
No, I'm
Got
just
him.
making a comparison to the past, and I'm giving him credit for the improvement. I think crediting someone's improvement is not backhanded, and the improvement has shown for Tens. When he's taking risks, it makes a lot of sense, and he is often successful with it. Him and Zekin have been an insane duo, especially when he's kind of being that second entry for Zekin. He's been ridiculous in that moment. The clutches when he's set up for those moments that he's winning have also been lovely. It's finally a Tens that is integrated into this team system in a way that really makes sense on a role that he actually looks comfortable and competent on, and that is ridiculous because we've always known how good this guy is mechanically. He's just been waiting to be put in the right position to succeed, and that is now for Tens.
I think for me the biggest thing that stands out is his smoke usage. He has like some of the most dynamic smokes that you're like, oh shit, you just threw that on the fly. That was fantastic. That helped Zekin or Zelsis or whoever the fuck get into the site or do whatever, play around, and that makes the world of difference when he's also top fragging in some cases and clutching and hitting ridiculous 2Ks that he has no business hitting. And that's just because he is Tens at the end of the day. His aim is top tier.
I think he's the only person that's throwing good smoke utility that's similar to the EMEA smoke players who are, in my opinion, leading the game in terms of that kind of stuff. But he's also dropping 140 ADR while doing it. Like that's bonkers. That is ludicrous. That level of production from that role is just crazy. The multi-kill rounds are also just through the charts. It's wild what this guy's been able to do in the turnaround whilst having a role swap. Let's crack our top 5 and not zoom in on the blobfish. What is the blobfish? What's the lore
That's a
behind the blobfish?
representation of you after he fucking wins Madrid and makes a video.
The real lore
Title.
is, I'm pretty sure it was a gift from Kaide, I think,
Right.
that he carries on
right.
a stage. It's like his little thing, like my little friend gave me this.
see.
It's really cool.
I thought
like
it was a John
Barla's
Cutie thing.
explanation
I didn't realize it was Tens.
I like Barla's explanation better.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a blobfish because I look better under pressure. That's
Bars.
exactly.
Holy shit.
Let's crack the top 5 then. So these are the truly elite players in the game for Masters Madrid. Some of them will have, in fact, all of them you will never have seen on our list before. Number 5 is motherfucking Mini Boo. I mean, how many of you saw that coming like a couple of weeks ago? That is just
Yeah.
absurd, but it's so justified. He's insane right now.
I've been telling you, I told you in the offseason that this
You
guy's
did.
potential is really, really high. And
did.
honestly, I think Heretics like built around him phenomenally. You talked about how he played really, really well in like set executes in the games you watched in the offseason, and that is true. It just is. He's one of the best players in those situations, like up there with something, up there with Kong Kong, and being able to deal with the very chaotic situations that you get thrown into when you're put in that space. And he's been thriving, way exceeding my expectations and how he was going to perform in the first tournament ever that this guy plays on a tier 1 level. It's insane.
I think he's nuts. I think that my fears about him being overly aggressive and maybe having a lot of the first death kind of stuff crop up, they're just all neutralized by the way that his team sets him up. Because every setup is perfection. So you get all of the strengths and basically none of the weaknesses. Miniboo is allowed to run in with like a stun and a flash or something, get 2, and then just neon wall and run away. And your team's in a 5v3 to start the round. And that happens so often, or it'll happen in the mid round or whatever. But like, even when he's just raw entrying, he's owning. Even when it's not some part of some set play and it's just him hitting the site in a 4v4 or whatever, he's fucking frying. It's
That's
crazy.
what happens when your brother is Kerrigan. So.
Dude, this guy is the real deal, man. I mean, he hasn't fallen off whatsoever, which was, I think, one of the concerns, right? Was like, it was on a bit of a hot streak, but nah, man, he's kept it going pretty much almost all the way to the finish line in EMEA. So, yeah, I think I had about number 5 or 6, I think, in my list.
Ren is the median voter.
Dude,
Yeah.
I got him right where I want him.
I'm pretty sure I know who the top 4 players are at this point. I mean, I'll be surprised if one of the top picks has been left off the list, but good lord, we've got some crazy players coming up, including, I mean, other duelists that are tearing the game up. Let's see, what is number 4? If Miniboo is number 5, lighting the world on fire in EMEA, who have the Plat Chat Collective got at the number 4 spot for Masters Madrid? It's less. The highest ranking controllers player at Masters Madrid by a substantial margin. And to be honest, I mean, yeah. Oh, so was Les, surely Les was also on the list for champions.
No,
He was 11.
it was 11.
He was
so
11.
It was not.
Was he really?
He was off the
Wow.
list.
He was our
Because he
11th
was coming
player.
off the Masters choke for Loud, so I think people rated him low.
Right. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
Les has simply been excellent like throughout his entire playing career. I can't. Was it, maybe the chamber meta was actually the worst for
No,
him?
it literally was. He was at
Which
his
is
worst in
wild.
chamber meta. Once he just got in Perma Viper jail, he's never had a bad game, I swear to God.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, but they also swapped him off of Chamber in Champions when they ended up winning, except on like Fracture or something like that, where Ospas was taking control of it. So yeah, maybe
I think we just
but-
copied my list. I had him in 4th too.
I had him at 4th too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brent,
I had him
It's the
at
same.
3rd, like around that kind of level though. He's just a monster. He's an absolute monster.
Yeah.
I had him at number 1, not because I think Loud is going to win the tournament, just because I think they're going to go deep and his performance will be so lights out that it is reasonable to rate him that highly. Like, he
Yeah.
mechanically is just absolutely unreal, and he's the only player on this list who I had in my top 4 who has like actually proven to be able to do it event after event after event. There is no doubt that he will perform at that level. Even when Loud loses, he looks like the GOAT. It's unreal.
Yeah. Hyper consistent player. Knows the timings inside and out. His aim's on point for it too, so he's always the one to capitalize off the openings that he knows he can
And
get.
again, they'll
like,
just hit the win button sometimes, and Les
He's the
will just go crazy.
If he's pissed
perfect-
off,
perfect.
you talk trash to him coming out of the bathroom, we'll put the John Cutie mode on too. Like he just fucking destroy.
Yeah. Thankfully, Martin is going to be comparing himself to QCK and not to Les, because otherwise Les would have a bone to pick, you know? All right, top 3 then. If Les is in 4th, you know it's absurd situations for the top 3. So, at number 3, in our Masters Madrid top 10 players, is Texture.
This is my list. What the fuck is going on? It's just copy and pasted.
I got to be honest, I underrated Texture.
I did
After
too.
watching the Gen.G games this morning, I wanted to move Charon and Texture up. Holy shit, this guy is insane! It's ridiculous.
He's
It's
not even
ridiculous.
fucking playing duels anymore, and he still looks like it's just whatever, anything he plays, he can just switch around and just be on just the GOAT. Just the
What
GOAT.
maps is he not playing Duelist on? He's on Duelist for like almost all the maps,
Wait,
isn't
I'm
he?
trolling.
Every map.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
you're right.
there you go.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm sorry. I just had
think
a, I
this
just
is
had
the
a,
G
I just had a
fighting days.
silly funny moment. All good. Well, trust me, if he wasn't, he'd still be good. That's how good he is. New narrative
Gee,
just dropped,
wow.
guys.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could tell he was good on GE, but dude, he was. Man, what a fumble from GE, man. Holy shit. Like, They were putting what SK Rossi on duelist over this guy, and now watching him just tear it the fuck up. He gets double faced. He'll kill 2 of you. Ice cold. He doesn't give a fuck. Phantom in hand, resets the aim. The movement is sublime. This guy has just the mechanical prowess that's off the fucking charts right now. He's a danger. The man's a weapon in the server. He's a fucking danger. I'm telling you. He looks so fucking good. He looks so damn good.
There's a strong chance that he ends up being the MVP, even if Gen.G don't go insanely deep. The thing is, saying stuff like that though,
that's a wild take. Yeah.
what, you think that's a wild take? I mean,
yeah, because typically people just have recency bias and they remember the last games of the tournament. If Gen.G don't go deep, people are going to forget all about them.
Well, I suppose they'd have to go some level of deep, otherwise he wouldn't even play any games. But my point kind of being that I feel like I thought that was a silly take from me, because you could say that about so many of the players on the list.
Right.
Because we don't have any expectation of how Masters Madrid is going to go. Any of the players, I think, could just turn up and take
you also
over. But
rate
Textures
Karen incredibly high, so like that also doesn't make any sense in that regard too. If he's the most valuable player, then you would expect everybody else on the team to be ass.
You don't. That is not what the MVP means. You don't need everybody to be asked. Shut up.
Yeah.
You know that is a you know that that's a bullshit.
Get off the stage! Boo!
MVP is the most hard carry player. Apparently, that's how you frame it.
Yeah, that's
Oh
how
my God.
Simple got all the HLTV top 1s and fucking like come on.
Shut up. I just realized I don't know how my brain got him confused with Meteor at the start of this segment. That's what happened. My brain switched and I was like, oh, that's Meteor. Other
has been
insanely
really good.
Yeah, he's also, the thing is, like, honestly, all of these guys have looked sick. Even like Lakia's haven't yet, like, nowhere near the level of texture. But like this Gen.G team, man, they are legit.
Lucky is a clutch demon. He was in the 3rd most clutches in Pacific, and he's #1 in terms of the amount that he's winning. He won 35%.
And he's on the same
of
team as
them.
Karen and Texture.
Yeah, he won 35% of them. And Munchkin's been like just winning his duels as well, getting first kills all over the place. I don't know if that'll be consistent. That'll be good to look at. But everyone on that team has just been hitting. Yeah.
Point of order. Pacific is dog shit.
Bro, extremely loud, incorrect buzzer. Shut up. Gen.G is good. Don't care.
Lakia did play against a lot of poo teams. I mean, he also played against Zeta when they just completely given up because they were eliminated from play-ins already, which was a fraudulent game.
That's true.
But yeah, Lakia also got a lot of those clutches, I think, towards the end of the tournament, because he was playing on fire towards the end compared to how he had been outputting earlier on, I think. But anyway, the point being, Texture's an absolute monster. Let's move on to look at our number 2 and number 1 top players from Masters Madrid. Number 2 at Masters Madrid is Narrate.
Oh, come on, guys. We
It's
were
my
so
list!
close. We were so close.
I had the rating 2.
Yeah, well, that makes one of us.
This guy, I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's good, but he's not going to be the best player at the event. We all know who that's going to be. But, dude, I'm telling you, Narrate. What? Okay, well, if you guys are the biggest fucking fanboys-
gas-
Go ahead.
gas up, Narrate.
No, EMEA heads. Go. Fucking say your piece. You wanted him at number 1? Go.
Okay, the one thing I have to say about this guy that we haven't already hyped the shit out of in the Karmine Corp segment is that in his post-match interview, after fucking dunking on every other team in EMEA, asked how he's gonna play at Madrid, he just says, "I'm gonna fucking swing him," and that's just it. Mic drop. The guy is just so incredibly good. All the good stuff we said about Karmine Corp, how they set up the team, how they play together, the ideas they have. It's all relying on this guy because he's playing duelist sometimes. He's also playing initiator sometimes. He looks incredible in both roles. For a player who could just be a ridiculous aim demon and do stupid shit, he's so consistently not overheating too much. He's so consistently actually playing with the team and actually setting his teammates up for success and really being a part of this K-Core system that has been working so well, on top of just being as gifted as he is. He is going to be lights out in Madrid.
Narrate is this year's Demon 1.
True.
That's it.
Yeah. It certainly looks like it, doesn't it? And I mean, Narrate was also a pretty hotly anticipated prospect coming up this year, and somehow none of the American teams picked him up. I mean, there was like, I believe there was a rumor that he was going to be signed to NRG. He was talking about it in one of their post-map games, he was like, "I'd really love to play against NRG at Madrid." Well, you made it, and they fucking didn't. So that's one of the greatest ways to end that saga that you could possibly ask for. You don't even need to beat them because they didn't even make it there, and they passed up on. I mean, one of the best current performing players.
This guy's
How
like
the hell is this guy? Yeah, go on.
Sorry, I was also going to pop off about something. There's a lot of popping off to be had.
Yeah.
Can you believe he was on the worst fucking challengers team last year? He's on like his anti-Yay trajectory. Instead of from best team in the world to worst challengers team, he's just flipped it the other way around.
The team environment, I think, really just helps facilitate this player as well, though, because my God, the Karmine Corp are so well drilled that it really highlights the excellency of this player. Because when you're only taking good fights and you're a fantastic player, there's no high risk, high reward. It's like always just
Low risk, high reward.
fantastic. Yeah, it's always low risk, high reward with this guy, and he just makes it look easy, man. So many scenarios he's put in. Yeah, he's a sublime player, man. He really is. One of those players
feasting.
that you could argue that he could be in number one as well, which is what you guys are saying. Well, should be is a strong way to put it when he's not the best player at the event.
All right, so he's got the best stats out of I think anybody in the world right now from kickoff. I might be wrong about that, but I think of the top teams, I think he's got the best stats out of anybody
That's natural,
in terms of
though, 'cause he's playing in
ADR,
the worst-
KPR.
He's playing in the worst region. So
Narrated?
You can't be taking that. No. You can't- just because you live in Korea, you can't
That's
forget.
bait. I'm fucking with you. No,
And then
leave
on
me
top of
alone.
that, he's not even playing like when you compare Miniboo, right? Miniboo's a fantastic player. We've got him at number 5 on our list. Every part of Team Heretics sets up Miniboo. When you look at this team, sometimes the team comp sets up Narrate. Sometimes it's Narrate doing the setting up. He is the Fade player. He is the Gecko player. He is creating outstanding amounts of value
Even on Yoru.
from these spots. Yeah, I mean, on Yoru, he's not all... Well, what do you mean on Yoru? He plays
That's
Raze in the
Fnatic.
Raze Yoru comps.
Oh,
Yeah.
But yeah, he's getting... when he's playing the Raze, yeah, he's being set up a bit more. But like his performance on Gecko and Fade is also just... monstrous. It's absolutely monstrous, and he's just got Martine's back all the time. I think it's fucking crazy what this guy's doing. Let's move on though. If we're gonna glaze this guy like a fucking donut, and we're not putting him at number 1,
Jesus Christ.
who the hell is number 1 on the Plat chat list? Let's have a look. Number 1, it's your boy Zeka.
That's what
New
I'm
Jersey's
saying.
last hope, baby.
That's what I'm saying. I've been saying. Dude,
Go on, say some
Zekken-
more.
Dude, well, listen, I said a year ago he's going to be the best player in Americas, and Madrid is going to prove he's the best player in the fucking world right now. Because this guy, I have never seen a player with so much drive to improve, and now finally he's got a good team around him, and it's actually showing him shine. He was in the top 15 for rating of players in Americas last year, and his team was fucking losing everything. And now he's actually got a good system around him, and you're seeing it shine. Like, you're seeing his individual decision-making, the game IQ, off the fucking charts in terms of the way he will set up and play off the rest of his team with just when he's playing on Raze or whatever. But his aim as well, the mechanics are just unbelievable. You know that you're in safe hands if Zekken is in a clutch scenario most of the time. I think this guy definitely deserves to be in a number 1 spot. I think you can make arguments for Narrate too. Personally, I had Zekken at number 1. I think this guy is going to prove at this event why he should be considered the best player in the world currently.
The thing is, Zekken, well, so many of the other people we have on this list are coming out of nowhere, are like flashes in a pan of players who have come out and went insane at kickoff and impressed. And you can make the excuse that it's like overreacting to one tournament for any of them. I don't think that's necessarily real, but you absolutely cannot make that with Zekken. Because like you're saying, he played great last year when Sentinels was dog shit. He played great with Xset when Xset was fine, even up against global competition. He's been to international lands before. He's been there. He's done that. He has proved himself as a top-level player, and I'm exactly with you that this is the tournament where he can prove that he is the best player in the world. He is with a team who I think is playing the right comps in the meta. The KO Gecko shit they're playing, I think, is fantastic, and I think it sets Zekken up to be even better than he already is. I think he's already already great. He's also like legitimately like a mature player who adds value to the team, who adds ideas for us how he wants to be set up. He's not just a duelist player who sits there and is just like, yeah. Just listen. There's so many of those out there, and that's not Zekin. He's actually like a vocal member of the team who is a very good teammate and who is also just absolutely absurd individually. He's going to be the best player at Madrid.
I think he's easily the smartest duelist player in the world in terms of game sense. Yeah, he has obviously best of the best tier mechanics in the game as well. He's insane and deserved for sure. I mean, out of all the players, he's one of the few people who actually has gone to an international tournament on this list, right? And he's proven himself on that stage. Probably with a weaker team too. So like this is definitely the stage to show off and to have that battle actually play out on stage between who is going to be the best player in the world after this. And Zekin has a very, very, very good shot. I think everything you said is correct, both you and Bren. Like the guy is the real deal, the truth. And we've already been known that. So yeah, deserved.
Yeah. Do we have any? So Mimi, you said earlier that you had trolled your rankings a little bit, but
I put Forsaken on there. If I were to do it again, I would put no Paper X players on there.
Right. So this is our full top 10 of the players that we had on the list. The aggregate top 10 from the roughly 10 people that were consulted for all of this, which is, I think it's a fairly decent list. What I wanted to do is I wanted to open the floor to any notable nominees that didn't make the top 10 that you think deserve a shout out for being extraordinarily good at the moment, but didn't make the aggregate list for whatever reason. Bren, yeah?
Shout out to the IGLs. I think John QT, Sadak.
This guy.
And who does the IGL in for Karmine Corp?
Magnum.
Yeah, I mean, Magnum, I think. I wouldn't.
That's
Magnum, nothing against you. Is
crazy, actually. Crazy.
I wouldn't put you in the top 10. But Shin, I would put potentially. I think you could make an argument for Shin potentially being up there.
There's a player that I wanted to give a shout out to. There were two players that didn't feature in this list that I had in my top 10. One of whom was Shin, who I think is leading the meta at the moment in terms of like smoke utility on retakes and stuff. One of the big reasons why that team's doing so well. And I mean, smoking for the anti-strats and stuff. And the other was Cowanzine, who I think had a phenomenal performance for Loud and has just always, like, if we're going to talk about players who have that consistency that always turn up in big moments and big events, I think Cowanzine's got to be there too. He's the second best performer on this version of Loud, in my opinion, and he's been pretty damn good.
I don't think he deserves to be in the top 10, maybe not even the top 20, but I do want to give a shout out to Autumn because, well, FPX does a lot of silliness. I think the guy's pretty sick. He's a really good player. I like the way he plays the Yoru. And it's also cool to have an Australian player at a global event. I'm pretty sure outside of Locken, this is the first time that any player from OCE is going to be on a global stage. So that's pretty sick.
Was it Ronsky? Did he play at Locken?
Yeah.
I don't think
Was he not at Locken?
played.
It wasn't there.
So have we never had an OCE
We may
player,
have
right?
never had one. I think he is the first. He's at very least the first to ever qualify to an international event. I remember watching him play like on some like random ass like OCE teams way back when. I was really impressed then. It's cool to see him have this opportunity in China and be playing really well.
Shout out Life too if you're gonna put an FPX player on there.
I mean, I think they're gonna get first rounded, but
that guy's insane.
I think their players are pretty cool.
I mean, Jesus.
Right, so we're doing a top 10
backhanded
list at the
compliment,
moment.
by the
So yeah, exactly.
I just want to say it's cool that an Australian player's there. He's gonna get shit on, but it's pretty cool.
Damn, man.
And now Kurt.
Just to read off like 11th through 15th, Chichu was 11th, Forsaken was 12th, Sadhak was 13th, Kawanzine was 14th, and John QT was 15th. And the only other notable thing is that Texture had one more point than less. Zekin was pretty far ahead of everybody.
Wow.
Were there any outliers that people put on their list? Any
yeah, for some
so
reason,
Kurt told us-
Paperthin put QCK at number 3 on his list. That's the only ranking that I thought was a little strange out of any.
That is. I mean, that
QCK
is
was
really
not good
high.
this tournament.
Well,
He
no,
was
he was
fine.
all
He was
right.
fine.
He
He was
okay,
good.
sorry. He wasn't great, I should say. He wasn't great. He wasn't to the level of anyone else on these top
I
10s.
think,
Putting him number
I
3 is
think what
crazy.
they asked him to do, he was great. Like what they
Yeah.
like,
Oh, by
motherfucker
the-
playing Phoenix, bro. Like,
The
We didn't
jet
talk
map,
about-
though, was not good.
What?
No Sassy
What?
mentioned?
True.
No
I
Sassy?
think
Zero
Sassy- I
Sassy
think-
votes.
No.
I think Sassy's gotten a lot better this year. This is definitely the best that we've seen Sassy play with Sentinels. His clutch win rate as well has been extremely good. But I mean, when I just don't think initiator players at the moment are particularly shining so much because a lot of the meta is setting up the rest of your team for success or struggling playing solo Sky. Like if I was
It's
ranking
tough.
the initiators, like I mean, Narrate, if you consider him an initiator when he's playing full initiator, and then like Cowanzine, Devi, then probably someone like Sassy or Rienz.
Yeah. I mean, kind
It's
of point for
just-
Sassy. He,
Zelsis
he's-
was pretty sick in some moments. I know he kind of flexes roles and is playing controller sometimes, but he had a couple maps where he was like incredibly impactful for Sentinel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think Sassy has adapted really well to the Sky meta, for one. Like the Sky nerfs, in terms of it, because a lot of Sky players, they ended up just blowing both their flashes very early on. What are you giggling
The
at?
only reason I laugh at this is because when I used to watch like a lot of Saucy to try to learn Sky in the Sky meta
Yeah.
before he was nerfed, I was like, man, this guy doesn't use his utils. So I was like, no wonder he's
Yeah.
good at Sky.
And on Gecko, dude, there's not too much, I feel like, skill. What's the word? Like when you can really
expression?
skill expression with Gecko as an agent, because it's like very much like
Throw
either
your dizzy,
preset
run in.
flashes. Yeah, you're very much like just to throw fucking shit at the wall and find out.
So much of it
kinda
has to be
character.
preset too, because you're throwing it away
Yeah.
where you need to be collecting it. So there's less room for like creative
But
on the fly
the-
stuff like you get with KO or Sky.
His thrash movement is nice. Is like the best I think out of the Gecko.
Yeah, he's
players.
actually been hitting
Which-
the gritty in that.
Dude, I'm not kidding. Bro has been hitting the fucking KZ servers on his thrash because this sounds so stupid. But dude, so many thrash players, they pop their own and it's like, yep, here's another one for you, little guy. Whatever the fuck Gecko says. He's like, hey, heal, fella. Let me chuck the ball out. And then he fucking, and then
We
he
still
send that
need to do
little
the voice
shark.
line thing.
And the shark just goes in a straight line, and then they can hear it coming, and they just spam the smoke, and then the thrash gets killed. Whereas the Sassy's like fucking.
What?
Dude, the thrash, nobody can fucking hit it. Nobody can hit it. This motherfucker's doing tricks on it. He's doing tricks on it. He's all over the place. They can't hit that shit. Sassy's thrash movement actually mad underrated. I know. I wanted to give a special shout out. To
Okay.
Sassy.
Someone get that clip of Bren and a clip of Sassy using the ult, and
Right.
let's see how similar it is. Let's see.
This is an
Let's
orbital
see.
strike moment.
Yeah.
Can
Okay.
This is
Yeah, go
our
on.
list actually ends up being pretty good, but bro, I never want to do this list was so hard for me, and I just missed the days where we could just put 5 Fnatic players and call it a day. Like,
Yeah, that was really nice, honestly.
One thing of note for the viewers is that usually I have them put a top 15, so it's a little bit easier to, get extra points.
yeah, this
But
is
I
kinda fucked of
forgot,
you,
so it's
Kurt.
only
That was-
top 10 for everybody. So that's
actually
why there's some
really
players that
evil.
got 0 points because there was no top 15 points.
Yeah.
considered.
But anyway, we gave some shout outs towards the end to some other people. So
They
you
get
know,
shout
yeah,
outs.
yeah, you get shout outs. You don't get points, but you get
Honorable
shout outs. That's
mentions.
fine.
I mean,
Any dishonorable mentions?
No, let's not go down that route. I think
who's
let's.
we used to do it all the time. Who's the top 21 player on like all the time? We
Yeah.
used to do it. That was dishonorable.
Well, that's not a dishonorable mention. That's saying who's been the most left out. Like who's the most underrated player, the top 21.
Who's the
isn't it?
saddest, loneliest player at Masters Madrid?
Okay, don't think there's any need to answer that. Let's go on to the power ranking, shall we? Let's get this episode over and done with. We've still got a meaty topic.
It's gonna be another
coming up.
3-hour
Dude,
episode.
it's- No,
15
no,
minutes.
No, no.
I have to go pick up my daughter after that.
5-0.
Yes. 5-0.
I'm gonna squeeze every minute out of that.
No.
No. We should be able to do this. There's only 8 teams, for God's sake. It can't be that
Famous
difficult,
last
can it?
Oh
words.
yeah, it can't be that hard. Yeah.
Let's start here. Is this the most difficult top power rankings list we've ever done?
Yeah.
Yes.
Before we
I
even
feel like
do
it's
it,
so.
I don't know.
Yeah, before
I
we've
don't-
even done it. I feel
Let's-
like it's
let's
really
reflect.
difficult.
After.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
I think this is
This
quite
power
difficult.
ranking shit easy.
Can we do
Dude,
number
I
one
don't think
first?
that. No,
Sure,
let's do number
I'm
8.
down.
8 is way easier than number 1.
FPX 8.
Well, at number 1, I think there's an argument for 2 teams.
Really?
Okay.
Really?
Well,
Just
first of
two?
all,
Wait, but
because
Brent,
Kurt's already
if-
put number 8 in, can we all agree? Do we all have FPX at number 8?
I think we gotta go bottom up so the viewers are forced to stay for 50
Okay.
minutes.
Okay,
No, we can
so,
jump to number 1.
No,
We're not
No,
gonna.
no,
we're
we'll do-
not gonna agree on number 1, guys. I guarantee.
No, there's no
it.
way.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
what's your hypothesis
Why don't we
here,
split
Brent?
in the middle and we start with number 5?
my hypothesis
up,
for number 1 is that there's 2 teams that are contending, I think, for that, and it's Karmine Corp and Sentinels from what I've seen. I think those teams have shown the most preparation in terms of like putting either work into their own maps or counter-stratting. And I think they've also shown that they are putting a heavy emphasis on making sure that they fight over the right areas, making sure they're all on the right page at the same time. It's real optimal play from both of these teams, where like if you're measuring like a category where you're ranking these teams like in everything that they do well, I think these 2 teams would be closely matched in terms of what they do. And I've already made the argument earlier in the episode that I think the claims about Sentinels map pool being weaker, I think are a bit over exaggerated just because everyone is starting from a lesser point.
Out of all the teams, this is just about the map pool. Out of all the teams, Karmine Corp and Sentinels were the ones who were taking advantage of other people's map pools the most throughout the entire tournament.
Yeah,
and
Sen
taking
don't
risks
have a
for that.
permaban.
Yeah,
Karmine
Sen-
Corp actually even have a permaban. They permaban Breeze. Sentinels are mixing it up between a Sent and Breeze, and
Sentinels was
maybe they'll even target ban from now on.
The only people like target picking, like, oh, you just played like ass on that last map. Okay, we're gonna pick it, and I think that was a huge reason for their success in their group of death. Like,
So how about if we're on the same page that Sen Karmine Corp are between 1 and 2, how about we just put a pin in that and go and try and settle number 3, and we'll go back to the 1-2 discussion later on. Because I
My
agree
pitch
with
is-
Brent. Those would be my 1 and 2.
Sure. I think I'm also with that. My pitch for number 3 is Gen.G. Pacific, I agree. Looked pretty weak. They did not look like the best region, but what we saw from Gen.G really impressed me. I think they play pretty simple comps, but they play really good fundamental Valorant. They play together as a team very well. The synergy between the players is on point. It's not to the same level as, say, some of the perfection we saw from Sen and Karmine Corp, but I think they're very good at it. And I also think that their individual players, they are the team for me that I point to, and I have the most players that I'm like, holy shit, they are going to dominate here in Madrid. I think they have a lot of room where they could end up being a lot worse if that performance falls off, but I think they have potential.
Potential.
they do have potential. They could be.
Damn.
Yeah, okay. I'm just closing the argument there. They have potential to be number 3.
I don't mind that.
Disagree. I
would have them at 4, I think. I was coming up with my power ranks beforehand, and I had them at number 4. I moved them up significantly. I think I had them at number 6 before I deep dove in, but I was pretty impressed with their level of coordination. The attack side calling, I think, was very good on Lotus. Their map pool's not quite as deep as, I mean, I'm going to use Sentinels as the example. Their map pool's worse than Sens, in my opinion, but I don't think it's still in a terrible place. Like, do you
Fall for
think
this
they're just
trap,
going to
guys.
fall over when they play against the other teams?
Yes. Yes, 100%. Yes.
I don't think they're going to fall over, but I don't think you're going to get the same out of their players. I don't think you're going to get the same out of Munchkin like he was fine. I don't think you're going to get the same out of Lakia with his
Sure.
clutches. I don't think
I
you're
But I
going to
agree
get
with
think
the
both
if
of
you
those.
get like
But the
3
other
out
three-
of 5, if you get 3 out of 5, I still
You're-
think they're like easy top 4.
I think Texture and
Easy?
Caron,
Yes.
I don't think it's easy, but I think,
I'm
well,
not saying
actually,
it's easy for them. I'm saying it's easy for me to pick them top 4.
top 4 just means you got out of the Swiss stage as well,
Yes,
doesn't
because
it?
it's an 8-team tournament. Like that.
Can somebody
top 4
explain the
is not
Swiss
a
stage
crazy
real
high
quick?
placement.
Not that it
it's
matters at all because it's a power ranking, but is it 3 games? Like 3
No,
games
it's
you
2.
win?
You win 2, you're
2
top 4.
games! Oh, God.
Yeah. So you win 2, you're through. You lose 2, you're out.
But
But
and
you
then there'll
can
be
play
some
up
teams
to
in the middle.
4. If you
Yeah, because you could go 2
No,
and 1.
3.
no,
Or
up to
1
3.
and
You're right. You're
1
right.
and
You're right.
1
Yeah.
and 1.
Yeah. So some teams will play. So it's basically GSL style groups, except you don't know
Friends.
who your opponents are going to be. Yeah. So
That's good.
you have to prep for every team. So I actually like it. I think that it's a cool thing to add in that has just a very slight difference compared to how we normally do it. And it's that you don't just have to prep for the teams in your group, you have to prep for everybody. And I think that in a world where a lot of these teams have been anti-stratting the shit out of each other, I think that's actually quite cool.
Yeah. Just the 1-0, 1-0 games are not going to be as cool as like the 3-0, 3-0 games
Sure.
that you might get otherwise in most systems. Anyways, it's relevant. It's power rankings. Doesn't matter.
It actually doesn't matter this time though, because we also don't know who they're going to play against, so we can't predict who's going to make it apart from by doing a system like this. So it actually takes out all of the like metagaming that we would normally do based on the group difficulty.
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
true. I like your arguments with Gen.G, but like I said, I don't think they'll be able to keep that going with some of the pieces.
So let me hit you with the teams that we're talking about that might be in that same tier for me are Heretics and Loud. Those are the teams that I have in the same kind of tier. Now maybe you have EDG in there as well, Brent, because you were talking about. Can we address Paper X later, because I think they're a separate topic of like, do you think they're going to perform historically versus how they did right now?
Sure.
But
let's table that discussion too. Let's table top 1, 2. Let's table 3 and 4. Let's just fucking
let's
table
put a pin in
everything.
that. Let's address it offline.
I gotta speak to my consultant.
Do you think Heretics and Loud are going to be able to dominate Gen.G just by virtue of being like better fundamental teams or something, or just because Pacific is bad? Bala, you think that Heretics and Loud are just by virtue of being in a better region and placing top 2 going to be better?
Yes. I'm being a fucking hater right now, and I hate it. I hate myself for it, but I just I was watching Gen.G. It's like, damn, they killed people, and I was like, you guys can make arguments about structure and strats and whatever. I wasn't seeing it. To me, this is like
a wise man once said,
the same argument as like a fucking
you
crew
get shot,
game changers.
You die. And I listened to that, man.
No, I don't. I really don't think that's what Gen.G are, though.
They're not, but that's what they can be.
Yeah,
kind
If
of.
they
I
need
don't
to
think they
resort
can
to
muscle
it.
their way through
I mean,
all
the
of these.
DRX
If they need
game
to resort
was
to it, they will
muscle.
rip your fucking heads off.
Yes.
If they need to.
I fear a world where they
They're
play
gonna
a
rip
close
Loud's
game
head
against
off.
I think
They're
they
not
could.
going to rip.
think they
Heretics,
could.
I could see the argument, maybe because of the fucking inexperienced
Sure.
thing. Like if they get shook a little bit, then maybe. But even then, like they were tested. The Heretics.
I think it's
played a
far
lot of
less
close
likely
matches.
against Loud.
Yes.
I rate Loud above Heretics for sure, but I think I rate Gen.G above Heretic. Because
See, I would do the opposite. I would rate Heretics the strongest of the 3. And then Gen.G, and then Loud. The finals where Sen played against Loud, even though it ended up being fairly close, actually shook my confidence in Loud a little bit, because I felt that they were getting through just by virtue of muscling their way through the matches. And the coordination at the beginning of the kickoff, I was really liking the way that Loud seemed to be very tight with each other. And Loud's horrible scaling into A site on split on their attack side, where they just kind of like into the site one by one, miles away from each other. It looked poo compared to some of these top teams. It did not look anywhere near as tight and disciplined as even Gen.G, actually. Gen.G are playing much more coordinated than that, which it worries me a little bit if that's where your win condition is. Like, Loud look good on Icebox. They look like they have good ideas. Their attack side calling on bind looked really good in the game against Karmine Corp too, but in the game against Sentinels. But I think that's because they had a good understanding of how Sentinels wanted to play.
But yeah, and then for Loud as well, I kind of worry about like, do they go back to that Ascenta comp, and then like, because I feel like a lot of their stuff is counter-stratable. Are they gonna try and change up and like go back to default comps? Are they gonna stick with this idea? Can it work under the scrutiny of like competition who now have actually a lot of footage of it out there? And I'm not confident it will.
I think Heretics would beat Loud when it comes down to that prep-based stuff. But the question is, would Gen.G beat Loud in a muscle-off? In an oiled-up muscle-off?
There's no way. There's zero
They
chance.
might.
I
There's
think
zero
Texture would be the most impactful player in the server. I'm not sure that Texture would be the best player in the server, but Texture would be in position to have more impact than Less more often. So I think Texture would end up being the most impactful
because
player.
I feel like Less would find so many opportunities to take fights against people I just rate him way higher than. And that's
he's
where
just forcing fights against like Lakia, Munchkin, constantly.
Yeah, and honestly, Munchkin seeks out the fights with the way he plays.
Munchkin
does actually.
Munchkin has like a bit of an angel vibe about him.
Munchkin wanders around by himself, lost in a supermarket kind of vibe. Like
It does
he's just
bother
like
me.
he's a child that's about to be called on the tannoy. Like he's
What
And he
is
wasn't
that?
getting punished for it at all.
Yeah, he
in
wasn't
the
getting punished in the
Pacific
DRX game. He was 6-2 in first kills in the DRX match, and I was like, dude,
Yeah.
one VOD review, you just know this motherfucker's pushing sand on bind like most
And
times.
dude, it's been like this for Munchkin since fucking Crazy Raccoon Reykjavik type beat. Like,
Yeah. But they also, I think, played really well in the like against Paper X too. Like I know Paper X was on maximum silly, and we'll get into them later. But I think they dealt with the weird comps well. Paper X at a lot of times was just taking fights and muscling, and Gen.G had better fundamentals, and they were trading each other really well and dealing with that stuff, and also having players step up to win in a game that was kind of descending into chaos in that BO5.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I have faith in them to win in a similar match.
Yeah, the way that they dealt with Paper X as well I mean, they seemed very prepped for the util that they're gonna throw out. I
Dude,
think
turn the
this is
logo upside down. Let's get fucking Brazil against us.
dude,
it doesn't
I
do
think
anything
this
to
is-
their logo. Like, it's just the same.
It's the same logo. I think this is an impossibility trying to rank these teams. I think we're
It's
just going to end
hard,
up going
man.
round and round and round in
Yeah,
circles.
it's like the fucking snake eater. It's the Ouroboros. We're entering the Ouroboros. It's just,
So-
there's no...
All right, so just
Can
do
we-
it based off of fucking historics. Like, historics?
well, then you'd have loud.
Yeah,
100%
okay, well,
of
loud,
the top.
loud,
Yeah,
the
loud
experience.
Oh
3.
yeah, but I mean, how suitable that your way of solving it plays
It's
exactly
perfect.
into your
Yes.
your
Yeah.
thoughts about
Stop,
Loud being
guys.
the best
Stop.
team.
You're doing it again. You're doing the fucking Loud thing again where you guys all... I need Wyatt next to me right now
Dude,
so I
I'm
can
not
back him
down
up
with
against you
Loud.
guys. This shit is
I'm not down Loud.
unbelievable.
I can
Static
I think
is
Loud,
so right.
Heretics, and Gen.G are the same tier. And I think it really comes down to the day and differences. I think these teams are so close in my mind.
I'm leaning
That's-
Heretics because I think they have more of the strat book left to show, and I think they've been more willing than the other two teams to counter strat. Gen.G have not delved into the tiers of specific opponent.
I don't
prep,
think this
except Paper
format
X.
lends itself well to teams that are super high specific performance. I think it lends itself well to fundamental teams that don't have ideas that are super. I think like Loud is the team to be counter stratted because they have the most gimmicky shit. I think Gen.G is just a very strong fundamental team that plays basic shit and is good at
Okay.
adapting and has
All right.
good individuals to
But
step
then,
up.
but then let's take
I
the
think this format
anti-strat
lends
portion out of
itself
it.
to that.
What about Heretics miniature like set plays, re-clears, strats? How are they gonna avoid that? What are you fucking pissing yourself about?
Come on.
No, it's an inside joke now. Some chatter saw it. Some chatter saw it. Me and Brett saw it.
I don't know what happened there. Just some kind of inside joke. I don't know.
in shambles. Don't worry about it.
I'm audio listeners.
Oh
what
my
happened?
God.
Something popped up. That's a little Easter egg. You'll have to go back in the video and find it.
Wow, I missed it.
Okay.
That's one for our Japanese fans out there.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like
I'm
when
willing to concede 100K of investment and Heretics in third, but Loud at fourth.
that's
Gen.G
Yep.
last.
If you're giving me 100K, 100%, I'm down.
No, you
Right.
invest 100K into my business.
I'm kind of
okay, let's-
vibing with the historics thing now. Loud
Yeah.
3, Gen.G 4, Heretics 5. Loud
Wait,
3,
what? Sorry, what?
Heretics.
Sorry, how did you just wiggle your historics to have Gen.G in fourth over Heretics
Yeah.
for no reason?
There's no history for Heretics.
okay, wait,
Historically,
let's-
Heretics sucks ass, and Gen.G
let's
is
try
fine,
attacking this.
so-
Let's try attacking this in a different way.
Okay.
EDG and Paper X. Would they automatically give me the case, Bren, for EDG being above 7th?
Well, for one, they've learned how to adapt to opponents' tempo, and Paper X are right now currently incredibly one-dimensional with how they're playing. They are entirely reliant on firepower. They have interesting comps, but when they were countered in some aspects
Interesting
of it,
is in you look at that and you're like, what the fuck is that? And then you
well,
watch
it's in
them play and you still don't
they,
know.
Like they played the triple duelist split because Sky was nerfed, and then they just slotted the Euro in. They have the classic case of Na'Vi of last year, I think, where Na'Vi were playing dumb shit comps because the player quality was so good. And I think that they got the wrong read from scrim data, and the conclusion they drew was that, oh, the comp is one of the part of the reasons why we're winning potentially, and that's why we're going to keep running it. When in reality, it's because the team has I think individually, a lot of really smart players that know how to take the timings. I think you can make the same argument for PaperX, but instead of like smart timings and slow defaults on attack side, it's just fucking firepower. You have hitters, man. You have hitters on this team. I couldn't believe what I was watching on Split. It was like I didn't have to analyze because on the attack side, they were just grouping up as 5 on A and hitting ramp and site every round. 4 or 5 players with the occasional Forsaken lurks onto the other side of the map and then dies because fucking side players holding it with an op or something. Like there was no nuance to it.
But,
like what happened to the team I love? I think what happened to them is that they're playing catch up with Jing not in the roster, trying to fit Monye into that role when he can't fulfill the same role that Jing was providing for them. And there's been a meta shift, which is causing them to have even more catch up with their map pools. So they're only having to lean on firepower. Whereas EDG at least have shown me glimpses that they are a really intelligent team. They can slow down tempo, they can adjust to their opponents, and they can adapt on the fly. And despite that fucking finals, which, listen, I haven't watched it yet, but I still have more faith in them, I think, to beat a team like PaperX.
Okay, so basically your argument for EDG going up was entirely based on PaperX going down. Do you have any faith that they would crack
EDG
the middle
have leveled
tier?
up as well. Do I have faith that they would crack a
The
team
middle
like
tier?
Gen.G?
Like Gen.G, Loud, Heretics? Because to me, they're not in the same tier. There is a tier break after those, in my view.
Yeah.
I think there's a world where EDG beat Gen.G.
Right.
But from what we've
to
seen,
me, it feels like we're relying on another like classic EDG play like shit regionally, and then like magically are the goats when they go to an international event.
They
which
don't
I
play
don't.
like
but they
shit
are often.
regionally, classically. Like,
I mean,
mean-
sorry, that was an overreaction, but an overstatement, I should say. They don't play like shit regionally. They play against weaker teams and don't look as strong
Yeah.
regionally compared to when they go international and I think refine their style a little bit more, do less of the silly shit. They always play better at international events against better competition because they are a very good team and they don't have to be perfect regionally because they're so much better than everyone else. That was the point I was trying to make.
Right. But you were saying that as if that's what we would be relying on. But if it happens every time, then you have to take it into account.
Sure.
But
I suppose
I would
so,
say,
but I'm
doesn't
with Brandon.
PaperX have some level of that as well? Where
But
are we
they've also-
really?
Think
It doesn't
about
matter how
PaperX
badly they
pre-last
play.
year.
Are we
Think about
really going to
PaperX
write them out?
last year, where it was this shit, where they're cooking the crazy comps and they're getting really silly in regionals, and then you're like, oh, they're gonna go to international events and be good, and then they just weren't. Last year was the exception to the PaperX rule.
well, yeah, I think when we think about PaperX being
Well-
bad with the changes they made in the comps, it took them weeks of the regular season to get back up to speed.
This team will be good, but I think it is too soon right now. I think they're
Yeah,
too deep
they
in the
don't
goop.
have the time to fix the problems that they've got right now. They just don't. They don't have the fucking
It's-
hyperbolic time chamber. They can't fucking start stretching out the
just,
1 week that
just
they
think
got.
about the games they were playing in Pacific. It was so far gone. Like, I just
don't
don't have
thi-
faith.
Personally, I don't think it's far gone enough to lose to EDG because I mean, you look at what PaperX have been able to do before. They are 3-0 against them all time, even when they had a
And
bad
in all of
performance.
those very close games when PaperX was playing at their peak.
Not really. I mean,
was
wasn't
always,
one of the
like,
tournaments at Champions when
close until
PaperX
it
got
wasn't.
eliminated in groups?
yeah.
Or am I misremembering?
No.
Didn't
I don't
PaperX EDG
remember.
play in groups before, and both of them got eliminated by Loud
Not
and
last year.
by Liquid and Lev?
Yeah, they started their opening game. Remember the fucking Sage Wall Raze ult over fucking
That was
Pearl?
What are you talking
Lock-in.
about? You're talking
That
about
was Lock-in
2020?
against
No, it
Cloud9
wasn't. That was
when PaperX got
Champions 2022. That was
Yeah,
like
Champions
2022.
2022.
That was his first time
PaperX
we
had a
fucking
slump.
saw EDG, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, EDG is gonna be the best team ever! Like this is gonna be amazing!" And they got grouped.
With PaperX, they both got grouped by Liquid
Yes,
and Lev.
yes.
So it wasn't just when PaperX have been at their peaks they've beaten EDG. They've always been better than EDG, even when they've been slumping. And I think that's going to be pretty similar again here.
But even when they've slumping, they've always had Jing. They've always had these magic bailouts. I'm not seeing that same stuff from this PaperX.
Yeah, to me, they are still very one-dimensional with their pace. But
Yes.
Yep.
And
But-
I think EDG has shown more diversity in their style in China and has actually been learning a lot since last year and through last year. And I think they are a team that is very much in a position where they are ready to deal with that style because they've played against a lot of fast, crazy, comp one-dimensional teams in China and have slapped them out
yeah,
of
they
the way.
almost lost to FPX.
But they won.
But they won by FPX not knowing that it was like planted. on the other site and then
Okay, but then
beefing some
but we're
very
also
Again,
fucking-
one round.
But
One
also there
round.
was minutia rounds for almost all of these teams that would have made massive grand differences. I could have cherry picked fucking many wins for Gen.G to get to the point where they are, and we would be knocking them all the way down based off this argument.
And
too.
we could be
don't
doing the same
think
thing when
so.
100 Thieves lost to Sentinels 13-11, 13-11. It was only 2 rounds both times. Like, they could have made it to fucking champs.
I think 100 Thieves go number 3.
I think I mean for me
No?
the
Okay.
for me I think EDG have not been playing well at the moment. I would have them at 7th, Paper X at 6th, and a tier gap between the rest. But I can understand if you think the Paper X have not been playing well, but also there's just so much niggling doubt in my head about underrating a team like that have always been able to, or at least last year have been able to play at extraordinarily high levels.
Bala,
When they play with CGRS as a sub, for God's sake.
What?
who do you think is 6 and 7?
Jesus Christ, God just spoke to me. I just woke. I thought it was it is the producer, but anyways, 6th and 7th, I'm with Josh, Paper X and
So we're
EDG.
flipping a coin.
Or
That's all we have to do
I
is
would
flip
put
a coin.
Gen.G 6th
That's
and
true.
Paper X 5th.
Flip the coin. Flip
Let's-
the
let's
coin.
flip the
don't
coin.
flip,
Free
don't
up.
flip
No,
the
we
coin.
flip
Just
the
don't
coin. We
you
haven't
don't
even
have
put
a
a
fucking
single
leg to
person.
stand on.
What do you mean?
With this Paper X shit? What's your
What?
point?
Dog.
Don't
Alright.
have a leg to stand on.
Please flip
you
the
You
don't
haven't
coin.
have
watched the
stand on.
finals of EDG.
Please flip the coin. Please flip the coin.
No.
EDG
Paper
should
X
The
be
coin is the
tails.
only fair way.
EDG heads.
No!
Flip it.
Can I make my case first for Paper
No.
X? Because
Yes, go on. Make your case while the coin flips.
y'all keep saying Paper X is just one-dimensional, blah, blah, blah. And let me push the glasses up, Bren, because they're the enemy of the armchair analyst, okay? Every single time they go for aggro, it's because they're doing something. They're fucking getting on the ramp at the same time as somebody peeking behind him. They're setting up Forsaken to be on an angle that he wasn't supposed to be on. There's this shit that we just don't see because they're just going to die sometimes, and they run through a wall sometimes, and it doesn't work sometimes, but sometimes
not
going to
gonna
work.
work against
It's going to
EDG.
work. It absolutely will work because
If you
EDG is a
know-
chaotic team. EDG, sometimes they're going to lose the fucking plot because of what Paper X are doing. That's exactly how every single one of these games go. It's chaos, and it's because Paper X injects that into it. And sometimes EDG can actually thrive in those situations, but against Paper X, it almost never, ever, ever works.
So flip the coin. There's good arguments both ways. Heads, EDG are on top.
Isn't this the first game?
You
too?
motherfucker!
Let's fucking go.
There's
I
no
love
way.
the coin.
There's-
I love
the
the
coin is
coin.
biased.
Let's go.
The coin is biased.
China
Yes.
is number 1, baby, and by that I mean number 6. We're on top of
And
the world.
Dude, let's freaking go.
Is that the first lock-in that we're gonna have on the power ranking right here? Besides
Along with FPX.
Yeah.
So we've done 8, 7, and 6 against our wills. So now,
Yeah.
how the hell do we solve the 3-way
Team
conundrum?
Heretics is not number 3.
You really aren't impressed with Heretics. I feel
I'm
like
very
they've been
impressed with
frying.
them. I think they are very, very close to Loud and Gen.G. And I think if there's to be a tiebreaker, I think the best tiebreaker is the Loud history of being better at international events and stepping up. I think that's the easiest way to do it. I was on my Gen.G cope. I still think Gen.G is sick, but I agree with the arguments for Heretics. I agree with the arguments for Loud. I think it is a very equal 3-way tie in these positions. And I think Loud's experience and their ability to do this event after event should be the tiebreaker to put them at 3.
Oh.
Unless we have what's a better tiebreaker?
Do we at least
I don't-
agree Gen.G is number 5?
No,
Yeah,
but
really.
it's fine.
No. We don't. The problem is each of the 3 of us has a different order for these 3 teams. And
Mimi,
Brent, where
say
would
your
you put
order,
them?
and then we'll go to Sideshow.
This is what I would
Bala, and
have.
then Bren.
This is
Oh,
what I
wait,
would have right
let's
now.
I think it would be this. I want to put Gen.G higher, but the more I think about it, the more I can't justify it. I think this is the proper order, but I think Gen.G can upset and be a top 4 team.
That's
Like,
fine.
I really
That's
think
fine.
that.
That's
But
good.
if
That's
I
where we
was
should
get-
end up. That's good.
I think my brain was getting too into prediction mode. I think if we are doing power rankings, I agree with Loud, Heretics, Gen.G. I think that is the power ranked.
Josh, put your fucking scanner on, bro. It's
No. Listen, if you two both agree, then you've outvoted me anyway. So
Unless Brent
and-
agrees with you, and then it goes to
yeah,
the
I mean,
coin.
Brent, you tell me how you would do it, but I think
I've got it. Loud, Heretics, and Gen.G.
oh, that's how
It's
you would have it as
done.
well.
It's
Yeah,
done.
well, it's done. It's out of my
I've been
hands.
saying that from the beginning.
Me too,
Were you?
Bren.
All
But
right,
you,
well,
guys,
we-
you guys convinced me. You
we
guys
weren't
convinced
listening.
me.
No one was listening.
You were listening.
all right. Well, then let's get on to probably
Karmine Corp.
the thing that people are going to argue about the most, I think, is where we put these two teams.
Yeah.
I would say
Probably.
because they're the two most clouted fan bases in terms of like the English speaking audience that are going to tune into
They
Plat
speak
chat.
French, bro. It's not even.
Dude, a lot of Karmine Corp. That I don't think we have all the loud fans watching Plat chat, but I'm sure
We
quite
do
a few
after
of the Karmine Corp
Spock
fans.
fucking makes his reaction to this.
Oh
thing,
yeah,
he's gonna be-
probably. Yeah.
We have them in the comments. We don't
But
have them
louder
watching.
as high as you could justify them being, aren't they? I mean, you can't possibly justify them being higher than third, can you?
Loud fans putting your face on the dartboard.
No, you could not. Not unless,
All right,
not
so-
unless you haven't been watching the EMEA games.
Yeah. So Sen Karmine Corp. We've made the case for Karmine Corp earlier in the video, I think. So is someone willing to give the case for Sentinels being number one? If not, I am happy to give.
I
the,
don't know what
the
I
case.
believe.
Okay, let me give the devil's advocate argument because I'm still going back and forth.
You
on
think
this.
Sentinels is the devil advocate?
For me, it is because
Okay.
I've gone back and forth on this a bunch, and I've settled my. I haven't settled actually.
His heart
I'm
is
still
fucking
going back
blue.
and forth on it.
That's all.
But I think I'm down for Karmine Corp number one. But here's my argument for Sentinels that I'm almost convinced by. Right, is that they have extremely good. They have extremely good fundamentals. Their retakes look excellent. Their meta comps that they're running on different maps also look really good. The maps that they ended up losing to Loud are actually not weaknesses particularly either, especially their Icebox is still looking very good in the game that we saw it played. It's not going to be a permaban for them. Bind is also a map where we've seen them have a lot of success against other teams, and I think it specifically didn't work because Loud had a very good understanding of what they wanted to do with it, and Loud themselves were willing to be flexible with their composition. If you compare them head to head, these two teams, I think like 4 of the maps out of 7, you'd probably have to give to Sentinels based on what we've seen so far. And that, to me, is one of the more compelling arguments. And the reason for that is I feel like Sentinels they both play a very similar meta on Bind. Sentinels have kind of wrote the book on how that's played, and I think Ten's performance on that map, the way that they have synced up these like shower scrunches and stuff, is all really, really good. And I think that the Raze Yoru that Karmine Corp play probably isn't going to be able to hard anti them or even soft anti them in the same kind of way because it needs to play to its win cons. It's not a super flexible comp that can play in all sorts of different styles. It's also, I mean, Sentinel Split might be untouchable right now, even with as good as Karmine Corp is. With the Raze Yoru, I feel like Sentinel Split is so well done to deal with that, whilst both teams still look immaculate on that map. Where Karmine Corp's probably most favored on Lotus, and Sen can just ban it because Karmine Corp have a permaban.
I'm fucking half listening here, tuning in and out. Is your argument a fucking map pool argument for a power ranking right now? Is that what I'm listening to?
Well, in terms of the head-to-head, if there was a match
Who gives
happening,
a shit about the head-to-head, bro?
well, I'm saying I'm completely stumped on which way to go, and what the devil's advocate argument for Sentinels to me is that they have a slightly better map
All
pool
right, I've had
than
enough
Karmine
about
Corp
the
does.
maps. I like Sentinels. I think Sentinels are on the money with their read on the meta right now. I think the way that they play their double initiator comps is the best right now. When they're playing the Gecko KO, I think the combos they pull out, the way they play around that is excellent. I think the players on Karmine Corp are also fantastic individuals. I think the way that Zekin is being set up and the level at which he is playing right now is absurd. They also, as a team, have far more experience. I'm gonna bring up the thing that I said is fake because we need some kind of fucking coke to break the tie. The level of experience of these
There's
players.
no tie yet, by the way. Nobody has even stated their opinion.
It's gonna be. It's a tie in my mind. I'm battling the blue demons. When your blood is inside your body, it's blue, but once it comes to the outside world, it's red. That's a lot like the argument between these two teams. Do you bleed red?
It's
Do you
not true,
bleed
by
blue?
the way. Just
It's
a
not.
fiction.
Shut up. Boo. Boo. Don't believe that. Fake news. I don't know.
My
what I was
veins
saying.
are green.
Yeah, it just
so no
scatters
one
the
knows
light.
each other's opinions, but you guys are arguing.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it's super close. Because
It's so
even if we
close.
have an opinion one way or the other, no one can have a strong opinion.
These motherfuckers are fucking arguing in their own head.
Yeah, we're arguing about our own
Because I don't know
opinions.
what to think. But I think I'm a sense.
Let me tell you, it's simple. Egg is the goat. Egg in my throat. Karmine Corp #1. Let's go. They're winning Madrid.
No,
They're winning Madrid.
no,
I
no,
fear
no.
I must agree with Arton. The fundamentals on display from Karmine Corp are fucking bonkers. I have Karmine Corp #1.
This is the best fucking theory-wise. This is the best team since fucking Fnatic last year and Gambit before that. That's it.
It's just because you fucking love Aang.
So he's the last Airbender. Like, what do you want from me?
Dude,
Bren, what do you think?
I think that.
I think, therefore, I am. This motherfucker.
I think therefore
He's
I
struggling with
am.
existence.
I think that Sentinels have a better map pool, but I think Karmine Corp have shown that they can counter strat and put it into effect with a tight turnaround, which I think is going to be a very, very good skill to have throughout this tournament. I think they have very similar strengths in terms of their fundamentals and how they take fights and their retake protocols. I think both of these teams are actually almost match and match for that. And so it comes down to, it's going to come down to fucking superficial shit. It's going to come down to probably the form of certain players. It's going to come down to how prepped they actually are, whether or not Sen are actually going to be able to maybe outrun the counter-stratting as well. The team might do like Karmine Corp, like that we know that they're going to do and put that work in for. But outside of that, it's literally a coin flip in my head. It's a coin
Decide
flip.
Sentinel so he can flip the coin.
Can you tell us which direction the coin lands then, Bren? Because I mean, come
Yeah,
on, man.
heads is Sentinels, tails is Karmine Corp.
Okay, go ahead and play it out.
In my head,
Yes.
play the metal pipe sound. Play the metal pipe. Play it again. My mind's blank.
It's over. It's
We're
over.
so fucked.
So
I think
We're
that's an
never leaving this
abstain.
podcast.
I think that's an
Here's what we
abstain.
do.
No, no,
We do-
I want
we
to flip a
do-
coin.
We flip the coin for
what?
Bren's
Who's-
thoughts. We
Heads
flip
for
the
Sen.
It's Mimi
Oh,
said.
no. Kurt's
we
got
flip the
Kurt's got
coin
it.
for Bren's thoughts. If it's Sen, we flip the coin for the tiebreaker.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Bren needs to believe it and tell us he believes
wait,
it.
wait. What
This
do you
is like
mean?
when you're a kid and you ask which ice cream flavor you want, and you're like, pick for me. And then when someone picks for you, you're like, wait, I don't fucking want that.
What do you
We
mean?
need
What
that.
do you mean? What do you mean by this? What do
Okay.
So
mean?
you said it's
So-
a coin flip for your opinion. Mimi thinks it's Sen. Bala and Sideshow think it's Paper X. Yeah, Paper X. Dude, I'm
Corp.
trying to. Karmine Corp. If it flips for Sen for your opinion, then we flip again to break that tiebreaker.
Wait, Bren, can you try and flip it in your head again?
What are we doing here?
All right,
Sorry,
Sen-
we're doing
this is
coin
Bren's
flips.
opinion
Coin flips.
here.
It's fucking Inception. What are we doing?
This is really not the confusion.
Bren,
I just
open your
phrased it
mind.
for you.
Open your mind. Be one with the coin. Be one with the coin.
Which one is heads? Which one is heads, Bren?
I
He
don't know.
doesn't- he-
I don't
he
know. I
can't
don't know.
say-
Okay,
until we flip.
Sentinels is heads. Sentinels is
cannot.
heads.
And I just gotta flip the coin.
Yeah, it's flipping.
Who won? Don't look. Who won?
Don't look who won.
Heads.
Yeah, it was heads. It was Sentinels. All right, well that means
He
that
knew
we've
the
got
whole
to.
time. He's
We
a
gotta flip
prophet.
again.
My Messiah. He knew.
So Sentinels is heads again, but this time it's versus Karmine Corp.
Oh, come on,
Okay.
baby.
Okay.
Come on, baby.
Oh God.
Oh,
Let's go.
I never win the coin
Sen
flip.
City, baby. My blood is red and I bleed it for my team. It's a beautiful world. A new day is dawned.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
We finally have actually seen Sentinels fans are
I've
just a
seen the light.
religious zealot.
I've seen the light. Rob Moore, is that you?
how likely is this to be extraordinarily wrong?
Incredibly.
All like,
Okay, good.
100%.
Very.
100%.
But I also stand by this. I think this is the best power rankings we've ever
You
done.
stand by with your own opinion originally. Good job, Mimi.
Yeah, wait,
This is my perfect power rankings, though. No, I would have had Karmine Corp one.
What are you talking about? It was you putting center one that even led to us flipping the fucking coin.
The coin is spoken. The coin is spoken. Do not desecrate his holy name.
But initially I would have had that. But now,
No.
now that I thought about it, I would have had Sen at
The ice cream. The
Very
ice
close.
cream. Mimi, it's the
Mimi,
ice
it's the
cream
ice
shit
cream.
coming
It
back to
is.
bite you.
It is.
No.
He got the Sentinels ice cream flavor. He took a lick and he was like, "No, you know what? This wasn't the ice cream
No,
that I
it's
wanted
the
after
fucking,
all."
The coin is sacred. Does the fucking coin mean nothing to you?
All right, here's what I do.
You can't just steal the election like
Let's
this.
end this shit. I gotta go pick up my daughter. Put them both vertical next to each other on the 1 and 2 bars. Let's get the fuck out of here.
I mean,
Let's
I know
get the fuck
I'm
outta
fine. I'm
here.
fine with it as it is. Oh god.
Yeah, this
Yep.
is.
How is
Put
this
'em-
is
put 'em vertical.
horrendous.
Yep. And put it
Okay,
like
now
Phil-
put loud heretics and Gen.G vertical on the 2 bar.
Just leave it. Just leave it.
No, this is much better.
Oh, that.
Oh,
stretch them down.
yeah.
Stretch them down.
That
Stretch
looks
them both
amazing.
down.
Group.
Oh, so they cover
Yes.
1 and 2.
Yes, that's what
Oh,
I was thinking.
perfect.
This is exactly what I was
Right,
thinking.
Karmine Corp's on the left, so that means that Karmine Corp's number 1.
No.
Right,
no.
let's close out the show then, shall we? Let's- Good
It's time for
lord.
the most important.
Oh, they were perfect before we fucked them up.
Let's go for the most important segment of the week. Mimi, shut your mouth. Let's go.
I know this isn't who you were expecting, but I thought I'd drop by. This one's better. It's the Guards Very Good Great Gamer Award.
Where have you pulled that from?
They don't exist anymore.
That's incredible.
God, the guard was an
Holy.
evil fucking dude all along, too. All along.
Don't know who he was really. We'll never know who it was behind the mask. All right, Wyatt's weekly award this week. Oh my god, who the hell do I give it to? I should have thought about this beforehand. I
Give it to Paper Thin. He just got a new cat.
No, I'm not going to give it to Paperthin for getting
All
a
right.
new cat. We
Give
just
it
had
to,
the kickoff finals finish.
DMV.
I'm not giving it
He
to-
just got married.
Did he?
Yeah, you didn't see?
I think you're trolling me.
They're both
I'm
trolling.
yeah, just incredible amounts of trolling.
Give it to Slicky. He went on
No,
He
it's
just
vacation.
got
gotta go to-
divorced.
It's got to go to a player. It's got to go to a player.
I don't know what I'm saying.
I'm gonna. Who the fuck do I give this to, man?
Give it to your top 21 player.
Oh, yes, Brennan. Yes. I'm going to give it to my top 21 player. A player who has been through the misery. They've known the worst of times. And now they're in the blurst of times. And they're about to blurst all over everybody at Madrid. I'm going to give this Wyatt's Weekly Award to Shin for making it through the darkest of
Deserved.
tunnels.
Yeah,
The
that's
darkest
deserved. Yep.
of tunnels. And coming out the other end and looking superb. Because, yeah, I mean, they can't stop you, son. They can take away your classic clutch on Sunset. They can take away your ace clutch on Split. But they can't take away you overcoming the odds, beating out the Screaming Navarra brothers, and making a success of your life anyway. Allez les Bleus! Allez les Bleus! Allez les Bleus! What color is it?
Thanks for watching, everybody. See you later.
Blue!
I'm pressing the button now. It's not working. There we go.